Over the middle, he has Ebner in for a touchdown.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
On first and goal, Bentley has it. Bentley has the end zone. Touchdown, SMU.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Drops back, there's a man wide open. It's Ruther. 2 touchdowns for the Buckeyes tight ends tonight.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Sliding, throwing, touchdown Dallas! C.D. Lamb.
Here's Paul Catalina and J.D. Piquel.
Well, we had a quick audible. J.D. Piquel will join us in the 4 o'clock hour. So Grayson Grunhaver here in Waco today, sitting down. But you've got an open with your name in it coming up in the next break, so don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, we'll get to do my usual segment, but in studio.
Yeah,
it's nice.
In studio, it's nice to see you, Grayson, in person. I had actually called you or texted you to see if you could do Skype today, and you're like, I can do one better. I'll be there in studio. The Smokes are off today. Where they are, I don't know. I don't ask. I don't care. I'll see them on Monday. And people. All right, before we get into the mountains of college football news, which are right now with the Big 12 now outside this alliance, it appears it's going to be announced here in the coming days. Do people ever do that to our listeners and our viewers on YouTube? Do people ever ask you, like when somebody's not at work and they're like, where are they? And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, he's in Hawaii or something like that. But most of the time, do you care where your coworker? Go when they're not there?
Yeah, they're just off, right?
Yeah,
why all the questions?
It's none of my business. It's none of my business what they're doing. And look, if I asked Craig, I'm telling you, he'd be like, I'm just going away. Yeah. That's why Craig is a private person. None of my business. So
yeah, Craig wouldn't give you any information for sure. He would definitely not tell you what's going on, and that's okay.
That's fine. Right. It's none of our business where they are. But what is our business right now, Grayson? And it just announced, or not announced, it's been reported that this Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC alliance is going to happen. And what it is right now is pretty simple. It's just a scheduling alliance. That's all it's going to be for the time being. And I'm sure that comes across all sports, but mainly for football. Eventually you're going to make it work for everything. Because again, why do it if it's just for one thing? But basketball especially will benefit from this greatly. But I think, this is terrible news for the Big 12 that they've been left out of this. And what I don't understand is, especially given that there's 4 schools in Texas, which is a recruiting hotbed, and that's your beat, Grayson, is recruiting, why you wouldn't want to include them in this?
Yeah, it's really weird. And I will say this morning, I saw the story from Nicole Auerbach, and that's where I kind of really saw this first this morning. I think it was like 7 a.m. I posted on the board. But it was interesting the way that she phrased her tweet. She said, the Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC are expected to make a formal announcement about their alignment soon, perhaps as early as next week. But she said this isn't just about scheduling. So I don't know what that means as far as the schedule alliance, if it's going to be deeper than that. But it is very interesting that the Big 12 keeps getting left out of these conversations, and it kind of doesn't make sense to me. Bob Bowlesby went and had that meeting with the Pac-12 commissioner, and I guess nothing came of that. But I'm having a hard time believing that literally nothing is going to come of that for the Big 12. As far as recruiting goes, you're right to a certain extent. Why wouldn't these Texas schools be involved? Why wouldn't you want to get them involved? But on the flip side, if there's only 2 Texas schools that are Power 5 in the state of Texas, I mean, that's honestly not a bad disadvantage for the schools in the West Coast, because Texas and A&M can only take so many. If Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU, and Tech are left out, all those kids in the state of Texas are going to have to find other places to play, and that's extremely unfortunate. I'm sure the Texas high school coaches are not happy about that, and so hopefully Bob Bowlesby can get that fixed, and hopefully the Texas schools can remain at that level.
Yeah, I just, initially, and the other thing about this is right away, this is not going to be about more money. Maybe for the Pac-12, because their TV granted rights comes up in 2 years, they'll be able to skim some more money by saying, listen, we got USC and Ohio State are going to play, 2 years on and 2 years off for 20 years, and, Stanford's going to get to play Michigan and all these things. They're going to have all these, great Oregon and Wisconsin will play, all those great things. Or Florida State will play, UCLA, cool matchups. Clemson and Ohio State, Clemson and Michigan, all these things that can happen between these 3 leagues. And the scheduling, it improves your scheduling, and maybe it improves the value of your overall product when you're trying to compete with, we don't know how much the SEC is going to make adding these 2 teams. We don't know. We just know it's going to be more, and they're already making a lot. And it was still just the second most, because the Big Ten had the most at $50 million, and the SEC was right behind them. Now the SEC, I mean, they might be able to say a number.
They might. Yeah.
I mean,
I think you're right about that. I think an area that is of great interest to me, and this has a recruiting aspect, also just kind of a logistics aspect, is the simple fact that, okay, Miami is going to go play Oregon. Okay, think about that trip. I mean, that is going literally all the way across the country. That's ACC versus Pac-12. That's a problem, but the even bigger problem is the fact that a kid from, say, the state of Texas that plays in Oregon does not get a single game in the state of Texas for their entire career unless it's a bowl game. That's not appealing to recruits at all, especially kids that are from the state of Texas. They usually want to play some schools from the state of Texas, or at least be able to play some games in the state. So I find that fascinating, as well as just the logistics part of it, traveling that distance and not really getting to play in front of your family and friends. That's not a great draw for certain schools. Now, for Ohio State, Clemson, the bigger schools, it probably doesn't matter as much. But for those little ones, I mean, that kind of matters, because a lot of kids go to that school because of the location of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and again, geography isn't taken into account by ESPN and the TV networks doing this. It's not even really taken into account in the schools and the logistics of flying all over the place to play these games. Because, look, for football in particular, basketballs probably would be a little bit tougher, because you've got some midweek stuff that would wear you down, if you're going to do a scheduling alliance, especially in the non-conference time, and, Duke has to fly out and play Oregon on a Tuesday. That's gonna be tough. I mean, that's tough. But for football, you're talking about 1 day a week. I mean, no matter, here's how football teams do this. If they play on Saturday, they leave where they're going to be either Thursday night or Friday morning, and then once the game's over, they leave the stadium, they go get on a plane, and they come home. So you're in a hotel for 2 nights maximum, and the only time you'd be in a hotel for more than that is if there's weather or something like that that's gets you stuck where you are. So for football, when people are man, that's a long way for, Oregon State to go, it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the time change isn't fun either, though.
No.
I mean, the fact that you're going to go all the way to Oregon and your game isn't till probably what do they normally do? The 10:30.
Well, 11? I mean, if it's an 8 o'clock or if it's a 7 o'clock kick in on the West Coast, it's a 10 o'clock kick on the East Coast.
Right.
So that means that, Boston College is going to play Stanford at 10 o'clock in Boston.
Yeah, that's good for their fans and TV viewership and all of that, right?
No, it's just going to be like drunk guys in Southie going, look at the game is on. That's all they're going to see it. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to make it better in that, like, it will, for television, it'll have cross regional appeal. So, and you'll have less of the games of, and fans will find this as they get older, in that, like, you'll be like, oh, who's my team playing? It's like, oh, Jacksonville State. Well, I can miss that one. I'll watch this other game, or I'll flip over to it, or I will go, like, or I'll go to a game that's not my team because I have tickets and not worry about, missing my team because it's not. But, like, all of a sudden, if you're a North Carolina fan and they're gonna play Indiana, which is a good team, like, oh, okay, well, that's better than, Wofford.
That's true. That's very true. And this scheduling alliance or alignment or whatever they're trying to really accomplish with this will definitely help that. And, the non-conference schedule will be much more comparable to what the SEC is going to face in conference, which I think is the biggest reason for this, is because in the SEC, I mean, it's going to be crazy. I mean, the teams that they're going to play, I think we're at a point now where when Texas and OU go to the SEC, they're probably going to end up every single year. Let's just say the college football playoff goes to 12 teams. They're going to get at least 5 in because of how strong the schedule is. So these other conferences need to make up that difference and find a way to make sure that their conference champion will get in and that they have a great shot at getting a second team in as well. So I think that's what they're trying to do with this. But I will say, I'm curious your thoughts on this. First of all, is it weird that Bob Bowlesby had this meeting and nothing came of it? And second, where does this leave the Big 12?
I mean, that's the thing. That was the thing I was just going to say. Like, what is the other 8? Like, what is these 8 schools? What do they have to do now?
Yeah.
And they better start getting comfortable with this idea of merging with the AAC, because here's the thing. That's their last option, but, like, it's getting closer. Like, if that was plan F, they're already on plan C. I mean, right now. Like, plan A and B are probably gone. Like, you're on plan C. You need to start getting comfortable with what plan F is. And I know that, like, a lot of people on our chat will say, well, this team should go, like, West Virginia should go to the ACC and these teams go here. If picking apart the Big 12 was a better option than this scheduling alliance, the Big 12 might have already been picked apart because the opportunity's been there. And the other thing is, if the Big 12 was attractive enough for other schools to come and pick schools apart, Texas and Oklahoma wouldn't have left. I mean, so, like, you have to go back to that. It's like Texas and Oklahoma left these 8 schools because these 8 schools aren't good enough for Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I tend to think that, like, yeah, there's limitations to what the Big 12 can do with its footprint and the fact that, the big schools in the league, outside of Texas don't really cover that many people. Like, 35 million people in the Big 12 footprint, 27 million live in this state here in Texas. So, like, you lose Texas, you lose Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's not, a big part of the footprint population-wise. They're just Oklahoma, friggin' Homa. I mean, that's what they are. They're just a juggernaut. So they have a brand, and where their population center is doesn't really matter because they're Oklahoma. It would be the same if Nebraska was still good. Like, their brand outweighs where they actually are. They're a good college. It doesn't matter. But so you have all those things. I do think Texas and Oklahoma made no effort to try and make it better. I mean, again, like, when expansion came up, we know now it was Texas and Oklahoma who were like, we don't want to do it. And so they didn't do it. And that might be of what it could have saved the league. But it means to me that a couple years ago, Texas and Oklahoma were thinking about, how can we get out of this thing? It's not going the way that we wanted, especially when you see TV deals like the ones down the way. And so I don't know what's left of these 8 teams, but that AAC merger is looking like one of their only options at this point, if it means staying together. Now, the one thing they need to continue to do, in spite of all of this, is these 8 teams need to stick together and get every penny of their money from Texas, Oklahoma, and ESPN.
Yeah, that's the no-brainer portion of this. They got to wait till Oklahoma, Texas, and ESPN force their way out of that contract to make sure They get every amount of money they can. Now, on the flip side, I'm very just intrigued by this whole situation that has come out over the last 2 weeks, really. And Mack Rhoades told y'all on Tuesday that his exact quote was, "I don't necessarily believe at this time the Big 12 won't be included in the 3 schools." Now, could that have changed from Tuesday till the report today? Very well could have, but I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe, just maybe, Bob Bowlesby or Mack Rhoades know something that
maybe they could be like,
don't.
Okay, you're saying, how can we get on this?
Right.
How can we get in on this?
Yeah, to an extent, even if it's not the full alignment that it seems like maybe they're going for.
And here's me, there's only we know the big schools really push this thing.
Oh yeah.
So the big schools in all this, like the big football powers, the ones that make money, the ones that get viewership, the ones that really push this, would have a vested interest, even though, like you mentioned, like now if there's only 2 Power 5 schools in Texas, then you can maybe, those 3-star kids that you lost because they wanted to stay home, well, now you may not lose them because, they got to play in the Power 5. That's what they want to do. They want to play in the big conferences. So now you can kind of squeeze that well a little dry. But to me, Ohio State, the 2 of the 3 most talked about players on their team are from here. One of them hasn't played yet, but he sells kombucha and went up early, and that's Quinn Ewers. And then the other one is Garrett Wilson. He's from Texas. So they would have a vested interest to me in coming and playing in the state of Texas, every so often. Michigan gets players out of Texas. Florida State, Clemson, Miami all get players out of Texas. USC gets players out of Texas. UCLA gets players out of Texas. Oregon for it doesn't matter who the coach is, comes out of Texas and gets guys. So there's all these teams, that would benefit from coming down and playing in the state of Texas. So to me, I guess maybe playing in Kansas doesn't do anything for them, but that might be a small price to pay for being able to tell your recruits, like, hey, we're going to be in your, while you're here, we're going to play 2 games in your home state. And you get to, not only do you get to play, Ohio State and Stanford and Clemson and all this other stuff, you'll also get to play in your home state.
Yeah, the other issue is, though, what if with this scheduling alignment or alliance, and I hope this doesn't happen because this would just be the worst move I think you could possibly make, is if you played games on neutral sites from the games from the ACC to the Pac-12 and you end up playing in Cowboys Stadium or in Reliant or one of those others, or NRG, I guess, or whatever it is now in Houston. That would be a problem. Because now you can sell, we play a game a year in Texas. We play at an NFL stadium, and there you go. Now you can play in Texas, and that would be an issue. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would say I think it's just a very interesting time for the Big 12. I'm very curious how this kind of shapes up because I don't think we really truly know the extent of it yet, especially with that tweet saying that it's more than just a scheduling alliance. Very intrigued.
Well, I think that's about I think it's also about governance.
Yeah.
And being able to push some of the governance through. And so if you have a scheduling alliance between 3 conferences and you can kind of make an agreement on how you want governing to go, then that probably spills over to the rest of it. So you can get ahead of the other thing is maybe getting ahead of the NCAA and whatever they're going to do, changing their governance, which would be easy to do. All right, we'll take a break right here. When I come back, we'll talk more with Grace, and then we'll take another break and bring in Brady Barger from BetUS.com and see how all this is affecting the betting landscape. Plus, J.D. Piquel joins us in the 4 o'clock hour, hopefully closer to 4. But today on the show, we're going to hear from Billy Embody on SMU. We're going to hear from a writer on Louisiana, and we're going to hear from Joey Kaufman on Ohio State. We'll have all of that coming up here on Sigum 365 Radio on 365 Sports.
Make this a summer event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, now arriving and in stock. This beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, with values of $3,500 or 0% for 48 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection.
Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, Paul Catalina, Grayson Grundhafer. Here for another few minutes before he leaves me to go do whatever he wants to do today.
Well, JD's coming in.
That's
right?
what everybody's doing today. Like, everybody else gets to do what they want to do except me and Armstrong and Hayden and Jack. Like, we're here. Everyone else is taking off. And football season starts for us in Texas next week with high school football. So it gets to be a bit of a zoo around here. Barry Barger joins us in the next segment to talk all things betting in our weekly segment with him, and we'll get some really exciting stuff from BetUS as the games start in football season. We're getting very, very close, Grayson. But right now, no one wants to talk about the games in football because realignment's going on. And normally in this segment with you, we would kind of talk about recruiting and things like that. But this story has dropped, and I think that's something that we've got to address continually. Is that the Big 12 is kind of, they're not screwed yet. I mean, that would be premature to say, but like if you were, looking at where they're headed, it wouldn't be great right now that these other 3 conferences have made this alliance and left the Big 12 out.
Yeah, it's definitely an uncomfortable situation. And from a recruiting perspective, it's tough. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of commits have a lot of questions, and simply put, it's the same answer as when Oklahoma and Texas left. I mean, there's just uncertainties that can't be answered. And every school in the Big 12 is dealing with that except for Oklahoma and Texas right now. And that's tough. And I would say from that recruiting side of things, I think it could impact some a lot more than others. I mean, obviously a lot of kids want to play in the Power 5, and that would be the preference. But sometimes it doesn't matter because Baylor's the school that you picked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wonder why. Like, look, it's 61 teams in this alliance. So what's 8 more in the scheduling thing? Does that throw the math off just so much that you can't include them? And look, this is not just a person who works in Big 12 country that's concerned about the future of what Big 12 country is. It's just, I don't get it. Like, I don't completely understand because, all of these leagues that are joining together, Pac-12, ACC, and Big 10, and all the leagues are like this, even the SEC. They just happen to have a couple more brand names. The reason the SEC is good, like, the SEC to me is like the food court that has all the good stuff in it, as where the other ones are like a normal food court that have a couple good things and a couple like, why would I ever eat there? Yeah. And I'm not trying to knock anybody's school, but like there are brand name teams and there are not brand name teams or that are there. And the Big 12 just happens to have 8 of them clumped together for football right now, where they're not big brand name football teams compared to the 2 that left. And that makes it look worse. But if you really looked at all the leagues, they're all got about 8 teams in there that are the same as the 8 teams in the Big 12. They just have better leadership. They got along better, and they had better planning for the future. But, there are plenty of teams in every league that people are like, okay, well, yeah, great. Good for them.
Yeah, their top 2 teams also weren't just looking for an out.
No, exactly.
And that's a huge factor in this is that, it's not necessarily all the Big 12's fault at all. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma were trying to find a way to greener pastures, so they think, and whereas these other conferences, everyone was pretty happy and content with where they were at. And so, that's an interesting point. I also think the SEC, for instance, I mean, you could go down the list of brand names in that conference, and you can just kind of go all the way to like 6, and there's Texas A&M, and that's still a huge brand. I mean, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Auburn. I mean, they're all in there, and they're all really good. You add Oklahoma and Texas to the mix. I mean, the brand names in that conference are crazy, and I think that's what's prompting this move. You got to get more brand names. You got to play more brand names. And for Ohio State, Clemson, the goal here is you get to play USC, Oregon, Stanford. You get to play the higher end teams in the Pac-12 and, cross matchups as well, Ohio State and Clemson. That just adds interest, adds TV viewership, and also increases your chances at making a college football playoff when it's expanded, even if you have a couple losses.
Yeah. But also what's going to come with this is not only just, Michigan versus USC. There's also going to be a crap load of Northwestern versus Washington State. I mean, like, that's also coming with this. Now, for the TV viewers of either of those 2 schools and look, a random TV viewer, I'd rather watch Northwestern and Wazoo than Northwestern and directional Michigan, which is what it would be now. So yeah, okay, I get that. But like, even still, like, as much as you like on the surface, it looks like a lot, like it's still, there are a couple of quality menu items, and then the rest of it is about the same as everyone else. I think that's where it like confuses me as to why ESPN in particular sees college football with such a narrow view of like the only thing that works is the SEC. Well, no, like you may not be doing it right, but like all of it's pretty much the same. The SEC's just been run better, and they've got alumni bases that spend more money. Yes, but like, there are people in many parts of this country that don't give a crap about the SEC. As powerful and big and strong as it is, so you're telling those TV viewers like, well, I'm tired of trying to get your attention, as opposed to figuring out how you can get their attention and do it better across the board. You're just kind of focusing on one thing. Well, and you would think they would have learned their lesson with the Longhorn Network. And
you would think, right?
I mean, like ESPN should have learned their lesson is like, and look, congratulations to Texas on that for selling them on like, yeah, people in Oregon and Boston and Bangor, Maine and North Carolina, they'll love to watch us. Everybody loves us. Like, no, your people love you, and that's it. And that's the same way for every school in the country. That's why the other schools, there's no Bama network. There's no Bama network.
Well, you know why there isn't? Because there's an SEC network full of people that care.
Yeah. And that way you can, the viewers will come across it like, So again, Texas gets to reap the benefits of all this stuff with no penalty other than not being good for the last decade. But even still, that's not really what this is about.
They do it every time. They just they get away and they're able to come out squeaky clean. And you're in the SEC, and now you've left the Big 12 behind. And you go back and you think about that deal, and you think about how it kind of caused a rift in the conference.
Look, the Big 12, the Big 12 fell apart in large part because of the Longhorn Network.
For sure.
10 years ago, 11 years ago, and now, the Longhorn Network was the biggest reason that there started to be the massive waves of distrust. It was already, nobody was happy with Texas. I mean, because they do their own thing. Then the Longhorn Network comes along and people become less happy with Texas. And then not only, here 10 years later, Texas is like, well, we'll give it up and we'll go to the SEC because you know what? You were right. They did ruin the whole league. So we're just going to leave. And then you wrecked it and you're just going to leave. It just.
Yeah, and I think the craziest part about it is remember all the blame everyone put on Texas A&M, Nebraska, Colorado, and now you fast forward to now, and you're just sitting there going, man, they left for a good reason. And they got out right when they did, or else they could be stuck in the same situation.
Some of us 10 years ago said that. Was like,
yeah.
And look, I thought it was really funny that when what Texas was able to do, especially between Baylor and A&M, was A&M was telling everybody, we're leaving because of this Longhorn Network and we're sick of Texas. And then Baylor goes, and Texas says to Baylor, you hear what they just said about you? And they're and A&M's we didn't say anything about them. It's about you. And then Texas is you know what you should do? You should sue them. We'll be over here doing our own thing. You guys make a big deal about this. We'll be over here.
Yeah.
And so Baylor and Kansas State and Iowa State, and they all get together and they're man, we're mad at you, A&M. And A&M's yeah, I get it. But we're not mad at you. It has nothing to do with you, but this is better for us. And Texas, we're tired of them. And they're and they forgot that the fan bases seemingly forgot that Texas caused the problem. They went in and they took a dump in the middle of the room and then they blamed everyone else. And the bill's did anybody ask Texas? Maybe they did it? No, that's how they done it. And then they come out smelling like a rose every time.
Yeah,
it's
and
magical.
Now A&M has to deal with them again.
Yeah.
And they're right back. And, those have been the funniest memes is A&M fans now that Texas is in the SEC just going, wow, we did everything we could to get away, and they're back. So that part's really funny.
Yeah. There's a Jennifer Lopez movie, and I can never remember the title. Deontay Epps, if you're watching again, please text it to me again. But where she escapes her abusive husband, and then later on, he comes back, but she's trained and fights and she beats him up. But this would be the end of that movie if the guy came back and that's the end of the movie. That's what it is for A&M. It's they've done all this stuff to get better and move along, and then no, he just moves in. End of the movie. There's life. You can't escape your past. All right, when we come back, Barry Barger, BetUS.com. He'll talk about the gambling impact of some of these moves. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting, we fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Barry Barger joins us now. BetUS.com. Again, use promo code SICK'EM125. You can see it right over my left shoulder. Promo code SICK'EM125 or promo code SICK'EM200 if you want to use crypto. 125% bonus or 200% bonus, one of the many great incentives that BetUS has. But Barry, I know this is a general question, and we have other things to talk about, but the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC are apparently going to announce a scheduling alliance as it comes forward. Are you seeing a lot of action on conference realignment type bets, like where teams might wind up or what might be the next move? Like, is that a futures bet or a prop bet that's going on right now?
This is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, that's something that we will have up right now. It's just such a mess. There's so many rumors and so many people, trying to figure out this realignment. Now that the SEC's, once you just take everybody in the top 20 SEC, you almost got them now. Once Oklahoma and Texas get there, we will have those. Right now, we have it like for teams to go to a certain conference and stuff like that. You looking for, because I'll try to get all that stuff up this week.
Yeah, because it's interesting to hear, because the gambling world's kind of usually a step ahead of everybody else because of how you guys, like what you have to do and the kind of information, the circles you got to swim in. For the gambling world to be even confused about it, it's got to be it's a little disconcerting for people in Big 12 country. And that if Vegas doesn't know, hell, nobody knows.
Right. Book's got to be a step ahead. Otherwise, those wise guys will step right in there and just take you down. So it's got to be real solid information and information up front ahead of everybody else. The books are supposed to have that before anybody, but that's not always the case. So, if you know something, jump on it. If you've got an in on a school and it's like, man, this is like looking like 80%, this is going to happen, then look for the line and get on it. If you get the info first, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Win. Just win, baby.
Absolutely, Barry. So I'm curious, looking at this season for the Big 12, are you seeing, is there one team that has been especially targeted in the Big 12 that you're seeing, man, it looks like they're expected to win much more games than they're projected, or even people taking the under as well?
Well, no, everybody's firing on Oklahoma. I think your chance still is Iowa State, if you're looking for somebody to bet that hasn't quite adjusted, because that's the team that has a chance to challenge Oklahoma. They split last year. I think they played twice, and they split. And I think they play like on October 20th or something like that. But Iowa State, like, as far as the teams that it's still settling. So this is a good time to get in on a lot of this stuff. Like I tell people, going on, if we were to talk about the top, the top rankings, is Georgia. Look at they're 5-1 now to win the national championship, and with Alabama, they lost I think 7 offensive starters, including their quarterback, obviously, and they Georgia has 20 to 22 returning starters, and if this is Dallas is going to win, Alabama's going to have to win with D, and they probably have the best defense in the country. But if you're looking to speculate and looking for a chance to take them down, and Georgia is really, really a good bet all the way around, because right now they're projected to win their SEC division by 2.7 games. Alabama's projected to win it by 2.2 games. So it'll be those two in the final, in the conference final. But Georgia, they got JT Daniels, a great quarterback. They've got a good defense. They've got everything it takes, and they've been right there. And this is, I hate to say the year to bet against Alabama, because really you should never do it unless you're sure, because they just reload that thing, obviously. But this is the year where their offense could be lacking. You got a bunch of guys playing that haven't played together like for years, like Georgia does, and but with Bama's stellar D, they'll probably get it done. But at 5-1, I would expect Georgia to be like 3.5 to 1. And opening week against Clemson, that line's already come down to, I think Clemson's 3 now. They were 3.5, and I think the money line on Georgia is a good bet there, because, and then after that, Georgia doesn't play anybody. I mean, they're gonna, if they can win that game, they're gonna go to the conference championship undefeated. So, but back to the Big 12, Iowa State's what I see. Oklahoma's just, you're paying too much. It's a tough bet at -220 to win the Big 12 championship. And for those who don't know how the minuses work, when you have minus on something, it's based on 100. So -220 would be 220 to win 100. If it was +220, like Iowa State's +250, it's 100 to win 250. It flips, if that makes sense. I know some people ask about how the money lines work on that stuff sometimes, but Oklahoma, you got to put up more than twice the money you're going to win just to win the Big 12 championship. So it's, you want to tie that money up, and then it's just being smart, better, trying to get the best line and trying to get it before it moves in the way you think it will. And that's why when I talk about Georgia, I think that line's going to move down to probably to win the national championship, probably 4-1 before they play Clemson. If they beat Clemson, it'll be down to probably +250, probably 2.5 to 1.
Barry, I did want to ask just a question about Georgia really quick, just because, they did receive news. They have 2 injuries that came out 2 days ago. Right. Tyke Smith, their starting safety, the transfer from West Virginia, and Darnell Washington, the tight end. And they've also been dealing with George Pickens has been hurt, Dominic Blaylock. They've had a lot of injuries. Are you seeing, is that maybe a reason why it's still low right now?
Yeah, it is. That's what's keeping it there. But I expect it to. I expect once you see him play, and this is still semi-speculation, but being in this business as long as I have, and watching where the opportunities come, and that still looks like a great opportunity. They've still got, these major teams, all these guys that are in the top 5 every year, Georgia, Bama, Clemson. I mean, they've got guys backed up that are backups that'd be starting for any other college in the nation. So it's not like they're going to scrubs when they have to go down the line. Some of these guys, obviously, you can't get to the level, but you got good coaching. You got, it's adjusting, and it's filling those holes when you have to replace someone who's a superstar and trying to, get stronger around that guy or figure out how to limit your downside when you have to put in a player that's maybe not elite. But yeah, that's something to always keep and that's one thing. It's like research. And on our site, on BetUS, we've got something called the Locker Room that has articles on basically every football game, every conference, what to bet. It's real information. I write for that sometimes. I've been writing for it for years. And it's not just fluff out there. These are real writers with real knowledge. So I would always maximize your information. And like if you're betting, say first week that Alabama's, I think, minus 19 or whatever, Miami, and something like that, I would say if you're betting Alabama, bet them now. But if you're betting Miami, wait, because everybody bets Alabama, public use. So you can expect that line to go up the closer it gets to game time. So it's being smart a little bit that way, if you know what I mean. Like the popular teams, the closer it gets, the more the line's going to move toward, that way. It's going to show all that money going down on like Alabama or like the Cowboys, the main teams. It's the same teams basically every year. Cowboys not as much as they used to be, but this year getting a lot of money on them since Dak is back and Ezekiel's looking super fit. And, we've got all that. Not to get off the college thing, just saying in general, like on all that stuff. Do your research. It makes a big difference. You want to get best lines, best research, make smart plays. Because, you need to win it, right?
Yeah, that's right. BetUS.com, by the way, Barry Barger with BetUS, and use our promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200. If you use crypto, I still don't understand how crypto works, so I don't think I'll be using that.
Do it. 200, that's 200% is great. Yeah. I would say everybody use crypto. Figure it out. It's not that hard. Figure it out and do it. They've made it easier to use crypto where these days, just look it up. I'm telling you, to get that much more extra as a bonus to start off, that's free money. I mean, get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to open an account for $100 and get $300, I think that's a pretty darn good deal, Barry. I mean, I went to Florida State, so I don't have to be good at math, but 100, 200, like those things are easy for me if we keep it in round numbers. But,
right.
What is the, like you mentioned Alabama and Miami, that's 1 in 14 ranked in the country, but to a lot of people around the country, I mean, it's a big name, 2 big name schools, but do you see people if you want to bet on Miami, you want that line to grow, right? You want people to like put money on Alabama and that 19 to go to like 28 or something like that. I mean, it's probably not going to get that high, but
you bet.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And that's why I'm saying, wait, because like I said, if you want to bet Alabama, bet it now before, because it's going to go up. It's going to go to 21. And if you want to bet Miami, it's wait till it looks closer to game time. I mean, if you could get 21 and a hook, 21 and a half, that'd be great, because that's a big difference off 19. That's a major point to get to. And so it comes in smart timing. Smart timing, it comes into play like that too. And some of these top teams, first week too, you've got a bunch of, I'm not saying to bet against Alabama because as a practice, that's probably not going to do you good. But they've got a lot of new guys playing together. It's the first game of the season. I mean, that's always the chance. And rivalries, you never know. With Miami, as long as they haven't partied too much, those players, they might show up. You never know what you're going to get with them.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Look, just as a Florida State fan, the worst sports memories of my life have to do with Miami. So I'll have to go.
Oh, my God.
I'll have to call my therapist.
I grew up as a Cornhusker. So I'm a Cornhusker, so same here. Actually, Florida State, I hate both you guys. Florida State and Miami used to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Smokey, our other co-host, will be back next week. He's been off the last couple of Fridays, but he is a big Cornhusker fan. So he's in it with you. Like he's, you guys will get along well.
Well, hopefully Scott Frost isn't fired by then, or they, get some probation stuff. I mean, Baylor, what a bunch of crap they had to go through. Like, took them 5 years, and then they just got, to deal with that. And then they really didn't get much laid down on them, which is good. But to have 5 years how does it take 5 years to figure that out? Well, how do you do that to the university?
We talked about it a lot, Barry, and you know what's strange about it is, like, the NCAA realized that there wasn't much they could do about the terrible sexual assault scandal that happened here, because that's not under their purview. And then they spent all this other time finding out what they could do, and then once they did, they were like, oh, well, that's not
is that right?
It's not really that bad. Boy. I mean, like, and that's I think a lot of people, think about, okay, they're going in, like, they start investigating one thing and then realize they can't really do that much about it. And then, like, well, we're here, we'll see what else is going on, because a lot of times when there's one bad thing going on, there's several bad things going on. Well, it turns out that was that was bad enough for all of it. And so, they come down to it and they're like, well, a kid cheated on a quiz and a coach knew about it. I mean, like,
wow. See, that's so wrong for them to go, well, we're here anyway. It's like, no, you were wrong. You screwed up to begin with. Go on. Yeah. Why, it's like the NCAA is not the best organization. No. Obviously. I mean, they're a mess.
It's why they're falling apart, Barry. So.
Exactly. Well, soon we'll have 12 teams in the playoff, right? In another few years.
Yeah.
Allegedly. We'll see if that happens. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to, $2 billion more in revenue they're projecting. I mean, I'm sure they're thinking about the revenue before they think about organization, what it's going to take, and so it's going to be another messy deal, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but NCAA, that's not a good organization.
I'm sure you've seen it in your professional life a lot. A lot of times people will say, like, "Hey, we have this much money," and then somebody's like, "Well, just give it to me. I'll figure it out later." And then, I mean,
right?
Yeah, that's kind of what's happening with the NCAA. Look, I'll take the money. Don't worry. Like, don't worry about the details. We'll figure it out. You trust me, right? Come on. Money. And
we'll figure it out. Yeah, just go. Yeah, cash. Transfer. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and it's like, okay, now we can slow roll. We got the transfer. Everybody slow roll. Roll mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, Barry Barger, BetUS.com. Go to BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200 for crypto. 200% bonus on crypto, 125% on cash. Barry, we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks a lot, man.
You betcha, man. I was going to say one more thing is the live betting. We got live betting on everything, including golf, too, which is awesome. I know everybody takes on that. So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Barry. That's Barry Barger, BetUS.com here on SICK'EM 365 Radio. Armstrong, I'm going to read some text here. I might need your help when we get to the phone calls later. There's a lot going on my screen here without Smokey and Craig here. So when we go to the phone calls a little later in the show, we'll do that. In the next segment, Billy Embody, Pony Stampede, will join us to talk about the Mustangs and what's going on there. Former Midway quarterback, we covered him here. Their quarterback, we did his high school games, Smokey, Craig, and I. So kind of an interesting thing there. He's transferred in from Oklahoma, and Tanner Mordecai. A lot of good things going on with SMU. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's go to the Riverbend text line now. From the 801, hey, guys, BYU fan here. Listen to a lot of your stuff. As a BYU fan and someone who has been hoping for a Big 12 invite for a long time, it's an even bigger blow to my morale that this new alliance is coming out. I think the best bet for the Big 12 at this point is to get BYU, Boise, Cincinnati, and UCF and try to make the best of the situation they're in. Thanks. That might be true. I mean, like, it's the point where I don't know what the other options are. Outside, like, to me, it's get in this alliance if somehow, get in, break up the conference, which they don't want to do, or merge it with some other stuff or add teams. That to me is the best. Those are the plans. I mean, outside of that, I can't fathom what else you would do. And maybe the Pac-12 scheduling alliance might involve some of the Big 12 teams if it breaks up. Maybe the scheduling alliance will be good for the individual schools, but right now, it's hard to say what's going on. T-Rex says Baylor just needs to make themselves attractive. How do you do that? Win the conference. Well, yeah, you got to make yourself attractive. That's the other thing. Everybody's got to get purdied up. It's the Armstrong, have you ever seen the movie Pretty Woman? You've never seen Pretty Woman? Hayden, have you seen Pretty Woman? So, in Pretty Woman, there's the scene where, he sends her off to Rodeo Drive, and she gets all purdied up and all that. That's what they need to do. Like, they need to be, and the movie's a good metaphor for what's going on right now because, the guy at Rodeo Drive treated her poorly, and then Richard Gere came in there and put him in their place. That's what needs to happen. They need to Pretty Woman this thing up in a hurry so they look attractive and not just like somebody you pick up on the street. So that's what they need right now is to get pretty in a hurry. I totally agree with you, T-Rex. Thanks for your text. We'll get to more of the chat room, more of the calls, more of that coming up. But Billy Embody, Pony Stampede, he's next. This is Sikkim 365 Radio on 365 Sports.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed. Smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Hi, Mark Stewart here with Bird Colgin Ford. Score big with Midway Football and Ford Trucks. It's time to catch football fever and find the perfect Ford truck for your next tailgating party. The Ford F-150 has been America's #1 selling truck for 44 years, and Bird Colgin Ford has the perfect truck for you to drive to your next football game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the many truck choices at Bird Colgin Ford. Visit us anytime at bkford.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Looking for the equalizer.
He wants it all on one play, and he's got it. Beautifully designed. Ben Sims, the tight end, into the end zone for the touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Here's Paul Catalina and J.D. Pickell.
Welcome back into Sigum 365 Radio on 365 Sports. Billy Embody, Pony Stampede, joins us now. And Billy, this SMU team, this last couple years have to be such a refreshing, change where it's not maybe this year the team will be good or let's see what happens. There are legit expectations now for the Ponies, aren't there?
Absolutely. You look at the skill position players these Mustangs have, and they're as good as any that I've seen since I've been covering the team. And, you go back to, when Al Robinson and Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley were running around. They've got those type of guys when they're playing up to their potential and they're healthy running around. The running back room is loaded. Once they figure out who's going to start at quarterback between Tanner Mordecai and Preston Stone, this thing's going to, I think, get settled, and the team can kind of move forward and really start gelling offensively. And defensively, they brought in Jim Leavitt, and he's bringing a much more aggressive run to the football, fly around mentality, and he's brought a lot of energy. And that's what this defense needed. It needed somebody to push them over the top to take the next step. And so far, watching camp, everything's fine and dandy before the game starts. But, this team just looks talented. They've got depth. They are really, really, really looking like a team that can finally take the next step and truly contend in the AAC for a conference championship.
They were already benefiting from the transfer portal just, by the earlier relaxed standards of transfer rules. But now with the one-time transfer rule, I don't know if there's a program in the state of Texas, and maybe not one nationwide at the level where SMU is in the AAC, that will maybe benefit more than Sonny Dykes and the Mustangs will from that being open because of where they are in Dallas, getting guys like, for example, Tanner Mordecai, who played here at Midway in Waco, and, getting guys like Tanner Mordecai, who, he's blocked at Oklahoma because of Spencer freaking Rattler, but, could probably start most anywhere else, but very comfortable in Dallas.
Absolutely. And he's settled in well. He's really brought SMU. I wouldn't compare it to Shane Buechele when he came in, and just more so because Shane played so much football at Texas, and had that, those real skins on the wall and started as a freshman, did all those things. But Tanner Mordecai's got a very similar demeanor as far as, the serious approach. He's also been around a team that has been in the college football playoff, and he learned from some of the Heisman Trophy winners that he played behind. And look, he's really settled I think that position down to where if they do go with Tanner Mordecai, you got to feel pretty good about where the offense is going to go. And then on the flip side of that, if Preston Stone continues to develop and somehow takes over, then you feel pretty good about that, because these two guys have been battling it out along with Derek Green, but it's really been those two guys that have separated themselves. And I've been really impressed with what Tanner Mordecai's done. He's much more athletic than I thought he was going to be, just in terms of being able to tuck the ball and run and add a little bit of zone read even maybe to this offense. He's been a welcomed addition. And look, he brought along Grant Calcaterra, who when healthy was one of the better tight ends in the Big 12, and he's going to be a threat in this offense as well.
So looking at the schedule, though, this is not, as far as their road games fall, this is probably not the way you'd want it to, if you rolled the dice and took your chances to fall at TCU this year, at Houston, at Memphis, at Cincinnati. Of course, that one's going to be the tough one. But this is a team that even at, in their down moments, they're still good in big games because they have that experience. What's been the factor for them to not, get rolled over and get overwhelmed anymore when they have a schedule like the one they have right now?
I think it's just taking it game by game. It's cliche and all that stuff, but they got over the Memphis hurdle last year. They were able to beat them, took care of business. And by the way, did it without T.J. McDaniel, who was their starting running back, got hurt on the first play. And then Reggie Robertson went down when he was well on his way to breaking the single-game receiving record for SMU, it looked like, and he was lost for the season. And since Reggie Robertson's first year on campus, when he kind of was, he was still young. He was a freshman. He was kind of developing. He had played a little bit at West Virginia. You flip the page to 2019 and 2020, those 2 seasons, SMU's undefeated with Reggie Robertson in the lineup. That's how big of a difference he makes in this offense. And I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but this team is kind of ready to take that next step to, they beat TCU in 2019. They beat Memphis last year. They've played in some big games, and they've been able to grind it out and come away with wins. They didn't blink a couple years back when they were down like 20 points going into the fourth quarter against Tulsa. They came back and won that one in dramatic fashion in overtime. They are just wired a little bit differently at times. That's been the thing. November, some of these big games, they haven't been able to finish. Last year did not end up the way they wanted to when they lost to Tulsa, when they lost to East Carolina, and then the season kind of ended for them when COVID kind of finally struck the team. But this team is motivated. I think they're motivated to keep the iron skillet in Dallas. They honestly, talking with people in the program, feel like TCU dodged the game last year, quite honestly, and didn't want to play it again, didn't want to reschedule, and they feel like they left a little bit out there. And it was a tough, draining year, especially the way it ended. But this team was just a step behind Cincinnati, and then kind of the wheels came off, and it looked a lot worse than the game really was. They kind of feel like with this entire spring and entire offseason that they've had, they're much more prepared to be able to take on the challenge of the schedule and kind of circle the wagons and finally break through in the AAC.
Now that we might have another domino falling in this realignment thing, the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 announcing, maybe potentially announcing an alliance here in the coming days, and who knows what that even means or what that means for a 12-team playoff. And there's obviously more questions than answers all the time when it comes to all these things. But for teams in the AAC, particularly a team like SMU that's in a gigantic media market like Dallas, where do they feel they fit in the future of college football right now?
They're very comfortable in the AAC. And the reason why I say that is because this is a league that whoever the champion has been has usually come out in position to be in the college football playoff if it was a 12-team playoff. So if that goes forward, if we do see that happen, that's kind of a game changer. And what they don't want to do is make a jump just to make a jump and then things fall apart or things change. They want to be on the right side of realignment whenever it happens. And what they've got to do right now, the only thing they can control and the only thing that they can do to make that happen is to win big, beat TCU, maybe go with another 10-win season, or finally break through, beat Cincinnati, or make a championship game appearance. They've got to do those things to end up on the right side of it. If not the final, we always know realignment will probably happen again. But when the dust settles from this round of it, they want to have won as many games as they could possibly do and see where that leaves them. They like the league they're in. It's a competitive league. I think the one thing they would probably want to do is, quite honestly, take some of the Big 12 teams and add them to the American, and who already has a great partnership with ESPN, has a good future on the TV side of things, and see where that takes them. That's what I think the league would like to do. They've branded themselves very well. They're a league that's exciting, and they've got good basketball as well. I just think SMU and a few other programs, quite honestly, in the AAC that aren't scrounging for any little jump, really want to be careful with this next move and make sure they get the right fit in a stable conference with the best teams they can have in there. And whether if that means staying in the AAC or adding to the AAC, or who knows, maybe making a jump up to another conference. I mean, that is kind of what their main goal is. They don't want to just make a jump to make a jump.
Yeah, right now the Big 12 AAC merger seems like the best thing for the 8 teams of the Big 12 that's on the table for them. I mean, now that if ACC, Pac-12, and Big 10 do some sort of alliance that leaves these 8 teams out, like they better, the other 8 teams better start warming up to the idea that you're going to be playing SMU and UCF and Memphis a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about it, and it's a league that probably to an extent, you look at Tulsa, you look at Cincinnati, there's some tough teams to play against defensively in this league too. On top of you have, Memphis, who in the past has been able to put up points on offense. UCF with Gus Malzahn, kind of keeping that thing going. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, he hasn't coached a game there yet, but that team's always been tough. USF has talent from time to time. Tulane is really tough to play against. You have Houston, who can always make some noise. It's just a league that's difficult to play in, week out. If you take your eye off the ball, SMU at the end of last year went to East Carolina with, I think they still had a glimmer of hope to somehow find their way in the AAC title game, and they completely didn't show up. And that's what happens in this league. When you don't show up, when you don't get off the bus in the right mentality, whether it's at home, away, what have you, there are teams that can come in and beat you. And I really do think it's a strong league. If they added the right teams from the Big 12, it could really be one of the better conferences. And I don't say that lightly nationally. I mean, they add 4 to 6 more teams, these super conferences that are catching fire, the idea of them. That's a pretty good spot to be in for all the schools involved.
Billy Embody, Pony Stampede, with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio on 365 Sports. Billy, thanks so much for joining us and hopping on. I know you got a busy weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the wedding weekend. That's where Billy's off to, is a wedding this weekend. So enjoy it. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Welcome back. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. JD Piquel is here now.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. You can watch us on the Big One, too, every Wednesday night now.
Yeah, every Wednesday night, talking all things Big 12, and there's a lot of things to talk Big 12 for right now. Get it before it's gone, right?
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Get it while it's hot. It may not be hot or here.
Think if you could have watched a talk show about dinosaurs before the meteor hit. That's what we're doing right now. So, yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't get views, I don't know what will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Look, I just click on the chat. Hey, anything going on in the chat room worth my while that I have to catch up with? Because I was sitting over there during. Yeah. Okay. Well. But we got lots of stuff in the chat room. This Big 12. The Big 12 is out of the Pac-10 or Pac-12 ACC Big 10 Alliance. And JD, your thoughts on this as the Big 12 once again finds themselves on the outside looking in of a conference. This is not a merger. This is a scheduling alliance right now, which probably has something also to do with governance going forward. But on the scheduling alliance part, there's 41 teams. I said 61 earlier. I meant 41. There's 41. I don't know why there couldn't be 49.
Sure.
You know, in this thing.
Room. Yeah.
There should be enough room, but there's 41 teams in this because you include Notre Dame because they have a partnership with the ACC where they play 5-6 games a year against the ACC. And I don't know why the Big 12 is left out of this. I'm wondering why everybody's decided that these 8 schools aren't worth their scheduling time.
Yeah. I think TCU, Oklahoma State, 2 huge viewerships, like top 25. I think you said it on the Big One too. The difference isn't that vast from, it's not a huge drop-off. Granted, it's a drop-off, but not.
But you're not talking about the difference between Alabama and Ohio State's viewership to TCU's is a huge drop-off.
Sure.
But if you're talking about, I'm trying to pick a random team, like Indiana's to Baylor's is you're talking about a couple 100,000 people.
Right.
And Baylor, I think, maybe above Indiana on that list. So, you're talking about, 150,000 people. Well, so?
Yeah.
It's not that much. So, I'm wondering why, what the big thing is about, why they determined, because everybody has schools this size in their conference.
Yep.
It's not like these are the 8 schools that are just so tiny and just happen to fall into this. Everyone's got these. I don't get why the other conferences don't seem to want anything to do with the Big 12.
If you're going to add 41, why not make it 49? Why not have, is 41 where you draw the line? There's no sense to be made of that. Just a lot of things to unpack. I think the scheduling piece is really interesting because that's obviously the biggest part. As a college football fan, apart from the Big 12, I love the fact that they're taking a swing back at the SEC. I love the fact that you're no, you're not going to have all the chips. We're kind of going to band together here and put our money together and put our chips together and try to have some sort of balance of power. But for the Big 12, I really think that there is still a lot to be played out in the situation. Mac Rhodes saying that he doesn't think the Big 12 will get left out. Essentially, he didn't say it like that, but I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. So I think there's still a lot that will happen. I think he probably knows something that we don't. But nobody in their right mind would leave out some of these teams that would get left out. I understand Kansas isn't super appealing for you if you're in the football landscape, but a lot of these teams are still people you'd want to have in your alliance, right?
Well, I just wonder about scheduling games in Texas, getting into that would be all that. I don't know. Chris on the chat room says it's not about what the Big 12 wants. It isn't about which teams are good. It's all about what ESPN or Fox will pay you for your TV rights. Dallas is the only TV market of note, so no TV deal. Yeah, that's a problem. Dallas is the big TV market, but in the streaming world, footprints don't matter as much.
Yeah.
Because it matters about your streaming deal. And so trying to say that we have this footprint in the streaming world, that's why I'm wondering, going forward where, look, if you're talking about a 41-team scheduling alliance, most of those games are going to be streaming.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, like most of those games are going to be exclusively, I say streaming, they're all going to be streamed, but exclusively streamed, a ton of them will be. I can't imagine that, Purdue and Wake Forest is going to be the game of the week on ABC.
Yeah.
It's going to be, or Fox or wherever, that's going to be streaming. So in the streaming landscape, like, why wouldn't, if it's going to be Purdue and Wake Forest, why wouldn't it be Purdue and TCU?
Yeah.
And so
totally.
That's why, I'm kind of just confused as to why specifically these 8 have been left out of this whole thing too. Like, what is it about them that makes them so unattractive? Because, and I get it, like they were already in a league that was making a lot of money, and they were not contributing the lion's share of that, like attention as Texas and Oklahoma. But, if it was just Texas and Oklahoma and everybody else, I think their money would have been less still even. So like, there's a lot to this that I'm still having trouble figuring out like why, because it's not like the Pac-12 is like, they can pretend they're all that great, but I mean, what's like outside of USC and Oregon,
Washington State and Baylor. Like, are you going to tell me Washington State's more valuable or is going to help you more in your cause than a Baylor or a TCU or Oklahoma State?
And I get there's
Iowa
some
State and
big, gigantic Phoenix, LA, San Diego.
Sure.
Like I know San Diego's not a Pac-12 city, but like it's still in their footprint. But like, LA and San Francisco and Seattle and Phoenix and, Salt Lake City are all going to be in that, realm of TV markets. But there's got to be there's got to be more. To me, there's got to be more, and I just think that you're selling yourself short. So
if the bottom line for an alliance as opposed to an alignment is to protect yourself against the SEC, there's no going against your ultimate cause of protecting yourself by adding the Big 12. Like the more the merrier, is my opinion. Like, why would you not add 8 teams? Why does that really take away from your cause? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I can't imagine a world where that would be the case.
Yeah, Chris also follows up with Apple has $4 billion and nothing to shop to their TV subscribers. Go after that money and you might hit pay dirt. Yeah, there you go.
But is it about money? Like, is it about
it's
money,
all about money
with an alliance, though? Because an alliance isn't so much an alignment as much as it is like the scheduling piece. Like they're trying to protect themselves, right?
And right now, immediately, it's not about money.
Right.
Like right now, like it's not going to affect any of their money right away. It might affect their money down the line in that you're proposing like, hey, there's, Ohio State and Clemson could play every couple of years. Florida State and Michigan could play, and USC and North Carolina and all these different things that could happen. Like those things are attractive and have like cross-national appeal of like the TV markets and the people that we're watching and the people who are tuning in and stream that game. Yes, but right now it's not an immediate payoff.
Yeah, it feels like it's about power right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And so it's more about positioning yourself for the new coming governance and all that, but
playoff.
Yeah, the playoff. Well, and here's the thing about the playoff is that there's enough people like Mac Brown, Dabo Swinney don't like 12 teams.
I'm with them.
You don't like it?
I'm against 12 teams. I guess that's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down.
But like they're like I'm all for 12 teams. I think 4 has become stale. I think 4 became stale in about year 3. I think that especially if it's only 4, you have no chance to give and I get it. If it's 12, Alabama, Clemson, right now, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma are the best 4 teams. They're probably going to win most of those games. But right now, you're not even giving them a chance to lose before they get to the championship games.
I think
or the
you are.
Games.
I think there's baked in the regular season. I think so.
I'm tired of hearing that argument. I'm tired of hearing it.
Why? Why did you disagree with it?
Because, JD, if it mattered, if the regular season was a thing, if that was a whole thing, then we wouldn't see these 4 same teams over and over and over again if there was more of a trap for them. The thing is, they know the teams. Like, a trap is a team you don't know, you don't see all the time, you have no history with, and oh crap, Boise State came to play today. Oklahoma found that out.
Sure.
That to me is much more intriguing than let's watch Georgia and Clemson play again. And I know they're leading off the season. It's a great game, but
awesome.
But they at least have the opportunity, like the NCAA tournament. Part of the reason we tune in is we know Duke's going to win most of the time.
Totally.
But there's a chance. There's a chance that somebody could beat them. With the way the college football playoff is set up is You have protection, like if you're certain schools, you have protection built into you because of your perception. Alabama gets a mulligan every year.
Sort of. I mean, if they were a 2-loss Alabama team, they're out. Like, there's been no 2-loss team that gets in. So in that way, if you want to go ahead and stretch it to 12, there's a multitude of 2-loss teams that were in the 12 game.
Well, I mean, yeah. The other thing
at
is
that point,
sometimes
the season matters less.
Sometimes 2-loss teams at the end of the year are better than some of the 1-loss teams that are in it.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I think it doesn't devalue the regular season. It also makes what it devalues is that loss at the beginning of the year when your quarterback was out at the beginning, that you had one loss in a non-conference game and you lost a tight conference game and you're out at 2 losses. But the last 5 games of the year, you're tearing everybody up, but you're not in the playoff.
Those felt the playoff games to me. The tight ones that you lost in the middle of the year to whoever. Those to me, I know we probably just won't agree on this, and that's okay.
No, look, if it was 16 teams, I'd be fine with it. I'm bored with 4. I'm tired of being the same 4. It's set up and it's ridiculous and elitist, and I just don't think I don't think it does any. I think it's hurting college football right now.
Wow, okay.
And look, after COVID, they had to find a way to make more money for the money they lost. The college football playoff last year was the most boring thing in the world.
My last question for you would be this: do you think the wrong team has won the national championship in previous years with the playoff model? Has the wrong team won?
No. Look, the best team's always going to. My point is, the best team's always going to win most of the time, or that the better team's going to be there. You have much more chance for much more intriguing things to happen if you expand it out a little bit, to 12.
I think,
so no, I don't think the wrong teams won. I mean, the teams happen. The team you might get had the maybe sometimes had the matchups been flipped.
Sure,
but
be better games.
Bit a better game just because of how it would have been. But, no, I don't think that. I think that you have a better chance with 12 teams of just changing up the same 4 over and over and over again, because you do give them at least one more chance to lose. Now, most of the time they're going to win that game. That's fine. I want to see them play one more game. Give me another game. That's fine. I'm asking for more games. I don't think, and here's the thing, if it's, say, the 12th team one year, which would probably only happen once, but the 12th seed, whether it's a group of 5 team or, a lesser known Power 5 team, say Baylor got in as the 12th team.
Yeah.
They're the 12th team. They played really well towards the end of the year. They didn't win the conference, but they were right up there. They're 10-2 or 11-2, and they're in the playoff. And you know what? But right at the end of the year, they're playing really good football, and they get that right matchup at the right time, and they win 3 games and win the national championship. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We can't even, the thought of that even happening doesn't even happen now.
If you run the table in the Big 12, you're in. You run the table in the Big 12, you have a shot.
Well,
you get in.
Let's stop giving it this one arbitrary thing that you have to do. There should be more, I think, again, I don't want to see 3-loss teams in it all that often.
Yeah, and that'll happen with 16. That'll happen with 16.
That'll happen with 16.
That's going to start happening.
Happen with 16. It might happen a couple times with 12.
I think you do the SEC schedule with the alignment, that'll happen.
But again, and the SEC growing, they're going to have 2-loss teams in it anyway now.
Yeah,
because of the way they're growing. They're going to have
2-loss teams. If they keep it at 4.
Not if they keep it at 4, but they're not going to keep it at 4. They can't tell us they're going to expand the playoff and then not do it.
I understand that they're going to expand it. I just hate the fact that it's going to be about everything else that's not having to do with the champion. You know what I mean? Because you're going to make Alabama play 4 more games.
Here's the other thing, JD, that you're not even accounting. This is not just about there's the 5th and 6th teams every year are not in this thing, not necessarily based on merit. It's just based on a bunch of people around a table say.
Sure.
Okay? And conference championship games mean less, because if you've already determined that Alabama's going no matter what happens, you're going to put Alabama in.
Unless they have 1 loss. And then Alabama has a playoff game right there against Georgia and then in the SEC title game.
Yeah. But look, you still they've already determined certain things. Also, this whole playoff committee thing is a bullcrap farce. It's a bullcrap farce that we have to listen to for 12 weeks a year about this team was this and this will look this in video and da-da-da-da. It's a beauty contest, and the only one that matters is the last damn week. Sure. So again, they've just fed us all this bullcrap down the line, and then people go, well, those are the 4 best teams because these are what these people told me. Well, this allows it to be determined on the field far much more than that, and it means that conference title will mean something. Top 6 ranked conference champions get a bye. It means something. The other thing is it doesn't determine the SEC has 2 better teams than the Big 12 does, so we might be able to put the team that's not in the conference championship game at all in the playoff. Again, so like Alabama and LSU, which is the one that kind of spurned this thing on. Like again, let's actually punish them for losses and reward them for wins. Sometimes you don't get punished for losses.
Definitely.
Georgia didn't get punished for losses when they were in it, when they lost. And your team outside the SEC championship game doesn't get in because they lost the one time. It's just nonsense. That's why I think it needs to change. I like all these things that are arbitrary, like get rid of anything that's arbitrary and like settle it on the field as much as you can. Now, look, they're going to pick 6 at-large teams after those 6 conference champions. But we don't have to hear about that crap until the end of the season when it matters.
Sure.
Because doing this thing in week 7, there's 5-6 more games left. There's so many other things that can happen. You're just doing a television show to jerk us all off. It's ridiculous. It's not, that's why I'm so sick of it all. And then so give me the playoff that has more chances of people to get in. I'm going to watch it. I've got 2 weeks of sitting around watching the Independence Bowl anyway. Why would I not rather watch, an actual playoff game? And I don't think it's going to, the elite teams in the country club are going to win it anyway. They're going to win it most of the time anyway. They might have to play one extra game. That's all you're asking these people to do.
If you push it to 16 or 12, it'd be 2 more games, potentially.
Well, 12, they're already playing 2 games, right? At 4, if you win the title game. So you're asking them to play 1 or 2 more games. If you're one of the top teams, you're only going to play 2 more games, not 3.
Right.
Now, if you're the 12th team and you make it all the way, you're going to play 3 extra games, but you want to. So, to me, I don't think it's that much. So,
it's going to be interesting. The whole alliance thing, I think, is going to throw a wrench in everything. And if it does stretch to 12, which obviously it will, it's just going to become the SEC Invitational. Like those 6 at large, you'll have at least 3 or 4 every year. That'll be, SEC teams. And so that's, I think, the unfortunate matter is we're not really solving the problem of, seeing a different field of teams. Maybe you see more teams, but when it gets down to 4, it's going to be relatively the same cast of characters. You have Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, and then someone else will crash the party. And that's the way it's been recently, too. You have 3 teams that are pretty stable, and then 1 team that shows up that nobody thought of.
Yeah. I don't think that. 3 teams at one. I don't know.
It's cyclical.
Well, yeah, but it's not. JD, the playoff is not cyclical.
It absolutely
is. It's the same 4 a-holes all the time.
Absolutely,
it's cyclical. Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama.
Clemson's a new player to the game. Clemsoning was a thing in the last 10 years. They just now became a blue blood.
But right now, it's always been them. Clemson's been in every playoff. Alabama's been in every playoff.
Definitely.
Ohio State's been in most of them.
And the thing's 7 years old. So, once we get to 10 years, then it's okay, I bet Bama and Clemson. What happens when Nick Saban leaves Alabama? Then what happens? Then we're okay, well, there's probably a new player in the SEC. When Dabo leaves Clemson,
So what you're telling me is I have to wait decades at a time.
Maybe decades is strong. I think college football tells us it's going to change.
A decade, it does, but it's I would have to wait a decade.
Or you got to beat them. You got to beat them. We can do that. Let's. If you don't like Bama, let's beat Bama.
Okay, but why not give somebody else a chance to beat Bama? What have they done not to earn it in your mind, other than being beneath the surface of the Power 5?
They being just other teams that aren't Bama.
Other teams that aren't Bama and Clemson.
Bama hasn't made the playoff every year.
Yeah, I guess they missed it. They've missed it once. But Clemson's made the playoff every single year.
Yeah. And that's just the ACC too. And if Clemson loses to Georgia, I think they're going to have a really hard time getting to the playoff. I think
if Clemson loses to Georgia, they'll still be in the playoff if they win all the rest of the games.
We'll see.
Clemson.
We'll see. I don't know. I think it's going to be, if there's an undefeated champion, I think there's just a lot of things. And that opens it up a lot. I love the fact that you have non-conference games like that. That's a playoff game to me. Clemson, Georgia, week 1. All right, let's roll. If Ohio State loses to Oregon, they got to run the table.
Yeah, but again, you're just saying, you're giving all these, I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous, and it's made college football much more boring.
Really? Well,
again, the same year in January, I'm going to watch the same couple of games, just maybe instead of Oklahoma playing Clemson the first week, or they'll play Alabama, and it just
sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah,
it makes 2 games to me a little more boring, but the regular season becomes substantially less boring, or substantially more boring if it's okay, we got Georgia and Florida. This is a great game, but they both have 1 loss. They both get in at the end of the year. We have 12 teams in the playoff.
Not necessarily. But no, I don't. See, I think that that is an argument. See, your argument is what the elite teams tell us, so that they don't have to let anybody else in. The regular season matters. The regular season will always matter. It will always matter. It's one of those things that they've sold over and over and over again to be like, oh, this will hurt the regular season. It'll hurt the regular season. Does it hurt the regular season in basketball? No, it does not.
Because they play like 1 million games. You play 11 in college football.
You play 12 games, maybe 13 if you're in the conference title game.
Depending, yeah.
Yeah, so like you're talking about 13 games. Like the regular season will still matter, and maybe even matter that much more, because if you take an early, if you got an early pock mark, you can fight your way out of it.
But how does more margin for error make it matter more? Like if you can lose 2 games, it's like, all right, well, we can lose to Florida, we can lose to A&M, and
I don't think it matters more. I don't think it'll ever make it matter less. It'll matter the same. Yeah, I think that's one of those things. That's one of those BS things we've been fed. Like, hey, Texas is better than everywhere else. We can have our own power grid.
Right, but you can actually see that. You can see them play a number of games, and you're like, okay, well, they've lost 4 games. They're not better than everybody else. Yeah. You can see that.
Well, if you lose 4 games, you're not going to be in there. But like, you lose 2. I mean, like, and not every 2-loss team is going to get in. The good 2, like the teams that lose 2, and they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs most of the time anyway. But it'd be it would be much more entertaining for me to watch a 2-loss team like fight their way out of it and come back and win the thing.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I love seeing more playoff games. Like that'll be a blast. As a viewer, I'm all about that. Yeah. As like when we make it more about like college football as a product, then I'm like, I don't know if I'm so on board with that.
Because I don't think it'll affect the regular season at all. All right, we're running late. We got to get to our next guest, which is Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. He covers Ohio State, a team that's in the playoff most of the time. We'll talk about playoff expansion, this Big Ten alliance nonsense, and all that much more. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. And you have this umbrella. We mentioned the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, but you serve more than just like home insurance, or you have all sorts of different levels of different things you cover. Yeah. How much does that help?
You know, I talked to a guy today. He has, Allstate on his car, Progressive boat, and, Farmers on his home. So I said, why don't you, do you know your agents? No, I just call that 800 number. Why don't you just let me quote that and we can have it all here. It makes it a lot less complicated for you. He really liked that. So we have auto, home, life, several different brokerage options, classic cars. Got to ride in a 1978 Ferrari one time.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching Sikkim 365 on YouTube.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul, Catalina, and JD Piquel. Don't worry, we still love each other.
Absolutely.
We're never going to agree on this playoff thing.
Yeah, it's all right, though.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's going to happen, too. I'm very aware it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to expand.
And Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch, joins us now. And Joey, we'll talk Ohio State in a second, especially, people in Texas really want to know about Quinn Ewers and what's going on with him up there. But this Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC alliance, how do you see that really shaking out beyond scheduling, which on the surface that is? How does that work out for all three of these conferences on at least the first step?
I guess you'll have to forgive me for my ignorance, but I'm still a little unclear on what the alliance will actually mean. They've talked about maybe having some political agreement, voting in the same block for governance structure related to college sports. They've talked about maybe a loose scheduling alliance, but the Big Ten and Pac-12 already play each other at a conference. Ohio State's playing Oregon this year at the Horseshoe. So I'm a little bit in wait-and-see mode for what this alliance actually means going forward, because to me, the details seem a little murky.
Yeah, they are very murky, and outside of maybe the fact that you would get Clemson playing USC or something like that, I don't know, outside, again, like you mentioned, the voting block, what the huge benefit would be.
Yeah, they've to me, I think what you could do maybe is ensure some higher quality matchups in a scheduling alliance where, there have been some years where Ohio State has played Oregon State as the Pac-12 team. That's not really going to juice up your television ratings, but I think there could be a scenario where if I was just a hypothetical commissioner or somebody in administrative shoes, where you maybe have your number one team from the Pac-12 play the number one team from the Big Ten from the previous year to ensure some high quality matchups, maybe a little bit. Maybe that would help out a little bit, because that seems to be what you're shooting for, right? In some ways, the SEC has concentrated a lot of the best programs in its conference, and you want to make sure if you're Ohio State, if you're Clemson, you are playing teams of that same caliber. It's not just the JV and the varsity.
Yeah, and you can't really concentrate teams anymore. There's not that many teams to really concentrate into a conference that you can do it. Like, you can't really. The SEC's done what they've done, right? Like, they've got all these brand name teams. They're not a whole bunch more sitting out just available to be plucked off of trees. Otherwise, we've already seen that happen.
Right, unless the Big Ten were all of a sudden going to look at the Pac-12 and decide, hey, maybe we want to expand out west. And I think that scenario is unlikely. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 have always had a pretty good relationship, and that's why I think the scheduling alliance or an alliance of some form makes some sense, because I don't know if the Big Ten is quite like the SEC in terms of their aggression from a business and revenue point of view. I think the Big Ten has been collegial with the Pac-12 and has a long-standing tradition with them. So I think a scenario in which the Big Ten would be rating the Pac-12 to try to maybe have some grouping of the USC and UCLA and Washington and Oregon coming into the league seems a little far-fetched. So this seems to be more to the liking of the Big Ten, just based on everything, how they've kind of operated in the past.
Yeah, Joey, what's the immediate reaction out of Ohio State country? Because I'm thinking in terms of how much this matters to teams in the Big Ten, I would have to think Ohio State's probably on the outskirts of it mattering to them a ton. If they handle business, they're going to be just fine. What's the pulse right now in Columbus?
Yeah, I don't think this really is on a lot of Ohio State fans' radar all that much. I think Ohio State fans are pretty happy with the state of their program. They're pretty happy with having a playoff team, and they are the heavy favorites again in the Big Ten. And just about every year they're on pace to make the college football playoff. And if expansion happens, you're going to be hard-pressed to ever see Ohio State miss the playoff. So I think Ohio State fans feel pretty good, and there's realignment going on, but I don't see it really affecting what most people in Columbus care about, which is Ohio State winning a national championship.
Well, they're certainly one of the leading contenders this year, Joey, to do that. I guess the biggest questions, same thing. Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State all have new quarterbacks this year. And Ohio State's probably C.J. Stroud, right? Or is there still some competition there?
I think at this point it's a pretty safe bet to say C.J. Stroud's going to be Ohio State's starting quarterback when they open their season against Minnesota here in a little under 2 weeks. He was tapped as the front runner. Ryan Day designated him as officially the favorite to win the job earlier this week. He said there had been some separation between him and Jack Miller and Kyle McCord, two other freshmen he's been competing with for the starting job. And they also gave him a rest day on Wednesday. And if you were in a tight quarterback battle, you would not think you would be giving the front runner a rest day in the middle of training camp. So I think that goes to show that it's really Stroud's job to lose at this point if he hasn't won it already.
Yeah, when do you expect him to be announced as the guy? Will that be they trot out against Minnesota first series, like, all right, we got number 7 out there? Or is he going to be the starter well before that?
I think they'll announce him next week or at some point before game time. Typically, the way Ryan Day has handled this situation, the way Ohio State has handled it in the past, they haven't gone with maybe the tack of Jim Harbaugh or some of the other coaches who will tell you we're going to announce the starting quarterback at the 15-minute mark of the first quarter of the first game. They haven't done that as much. They've tended to maybe 10 days out before an opener pick a guy and really kind of make him the face of the program. So I would expect them to do something similar in this circumstance.
All right, so a lot of talk in the state of Texas has been about Quinn Ewers, the quarterback from South Lake Carroll, who skipped his senior year of high school, is enrolled early, is selling kombucha, and practicing now with Ohio State. Obviously, don't expect him to play. What's Ohio State's and the fan base's reaction been to this about getting him there earlier?
I think most people are excited about it. I think there's actually some portion of the fan base who's maybe not fully ready for everything that NIL is going to bring. It certainly creates a new dynamic, and it has the potential to create drama, because if CJ Stroud were to struggle at some point during the season, there will probably be a segment of the fan base that is hoping or wanting Quinn Ewers to come in and maybe get a shot, but right now, because of the timing of everything that happened, Quinn Ewers didn't arrive on campus until last weekend. He first practiced with the team on Monday. He's only had 5 practices now under his belt, and when we were out there watching this week, he wasn't getting any reps in team period, and he was pretty much limited to individual drills, and they're bringing him along pretty slowly. He's still learning the playbook, so I think it's going to be pretty challenging for him to get up to speed and really see meaningful playing time this season, barring some injury or a really strange circumstance with the quarterback, just because he doesn't know the offense. If he came in maybe the beginning of training camp, or if he came in July and you maybe had some meetings and a little bit more of a period of time to ramp up toward a season, he would have a shot. But he came in really less than 3 weeks before the season opener, and I think that's a really tall order for him.
Yeah, Joey, what's been the reaction among the coaching staff? Because I'm thinking, okay, we thought we had this guy next year. He'll, come along, maybe redshirt or compete to play next year, depending on what C.J. Stroud does this year. But his clock has started now. He now is on the 5-to-play-4 track, and that's, already in motion. Was there any at all sense of, gosh, this kind of messed with our timeline a little bit here?
I think a little bit, maybe you could say that. They haven't certainly publicly come out and said that by any means. But I don't think Ohio State really had any choice in the matter but to say, come to Columbus, because certainly if you were to push back or say, can you wait a year, and there's a chance you lose him as a commit, and I think that's a little bit of the strange situation they get put in. So at this point, if you want Quinn Ewers to come, you kind of got to take him when he's ready, and I think certainly it maybe has the potential to add a weird dynamic later in the season. Certainly, as I kind of mentioned before, if Stroud struggles. So it might be easier from a locker room chemistry situation if he didn't come now. But, I mean, there's a very good chance C.J. Stroud ends up being really good, because basically every quarterback that Ohio State has had with Ryan Day has been really good. And if C.J. Stroud ends up living up to the billing, I think there's a very good chance that Quinn Ewers becomes more of a non-story later in the year.
Yeah, he hasn't whiffed yet. He hasn't whiffed. He hasn't had one of those that everybody thought was going to be good and then hits the wall. So, yeah, that's a great point, Joey. So, schedule-wise, Minnesota to open up, Oregon. Their schedule's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it does seem to line up for them pretty well to roll through like they have. Is there any games that you think are bad matchups for them or trap games down the line, just looking out before the season starts?
Not really. The unique dynamic, I think, to their season is just that it's really front-loaded. Typically, Ohio State might play a MAC school in week 1 or another Group of 5 school, and maybe you ease into the season a little more. C.J. Stroud gets to really settle into the offense and get comfortable. But they're going to play at Minnesota, which has a lot of returning starters and a lot of super seniors, which is going to be an interesting dynamic in the Big Ten this year, where Ohio State's going to face an older roster. So I think there isn't really a trap game on the schedule per se, but I think they are going to have to be really ready to play week 1 because there's not much of an easy acclimation period. You play at Minnesota week 1, then you're hosting Oregon, which might be actually the toughest team they play, and Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be a challenge for any offensive line to block this year, and it's going to be a challenge for any young quarterback who's trying to deal with pressure for the first time. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for. I think this year is can they get through September in those first couple weeks in one piece, and just how do they look coming out of the gate?
Yeah, because, week 1, you mentioned it, Minnesota, really experienced team. Ohio State is obviously Ohio State, but they're going to be playing with a quarterback that's never thrown a pass in a game before. Is there any sense of worry around the Minnesota game, or am I overhyping that?
I wouldn't say it's worry. I think it's more of they will probably, the way the program and players and coaches have talked about it, it's been a little more of a sense of urgency where you're playing a Big Ten team in week 1. You're playing a team that nearly won the Big Ten West 2 years ago. So I don't think there's a super high level of concern or worry, but I think Minnesota has their attention more than if, say, Ohio State was playing Florida Atlantic like they were 2 years ago.
Joey, Does the Big Ten, with this, I'm going to go back to the Alliance real quick. Does the Big Ten, I know that there been coaches in the ACC like Dabo Swinney and Mac Brown that both said that they don't like expanding the playoff and they don't like at least the 12 number. Does the Big Ten feel any sort of way about 12 teams as opposed to maybe 8 or 6?
I think most people in the league are open to 12, and I think most coaches are open to 12. We haven't seen that from the ACC. Mac Brown and Dabo Swinney both came out and talked about they weren't super jazzed on expansion, but Ryan Day is a proponent of it. He played his college ball at New Hampshire, which is the level of college football that has a playoff and spent time in the NFL. So I think in general he has always been more comfortable with a larger playoff field. And he's also talked about too. Ohio State is, when he was there in 2017 and 2018 as the offensive coordinator for Urban Meyer, dealt with some devastating losses that could knock you out of the playoff, and so they've gone the last 2 years without a loss in the Big Ten that allowed them to get to the playoff. But I think for Ryan Day, he likes the idea of an expanded playoff. It's going to give them a little more of a cushion where they can withstand a loss or two and still make the playoff. And a lot of other coaches in the league too also would benefit, I think, as well. Penn State's been close to making the 4-team playoff with it expanded. James Franklin's had a lot of teams that could make it. Jim Harbaugh's had some teams in Michigan, even in 2016. They probably could have made the playoff. So I think it's going to allow maybe that second tier in the Big Ten to really have a shot to compete for a national title, because right now it's really hard to unseat Ohio State without and still make the playoff. And now you have a possibility with either a 12-team playoff. Maybe you don't beat Ohio State, but maybe you can still make it in.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch. Joey, for years, I call you to do a segment. You always say yes. Always appreciate it. Enjoy the season. We'll talk to you again soon.
And glad we're starting this year in September.
Yeah, me too.
Both, yeah.
Me too. That's Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch, and he covered USC for a while. Now he's covering Ohio State. He's a guy, JD, I'll tell you, every time I've ever called him. Yep. be on the show.
Seems awesome.
Yeah,
Seems awesome.
great.
I'm glad we got to have him on.
Yeah. All right. So at 5:15, we're going to have Tim Buckley, Lafayette Daily Advertiser, talking Louisiana. And look, they've got their Texas's trap game right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's trap. I don't know if it's a trap if you know they're coming.
Yeah.
But that's one scary for Texas right off the bat. So that's at 5:15 today. We'll take this to the top of the hour here. But some interesting quotes came out of George Kliavkov.
I don't even know how he says his name.
Kliavkov?
I don't think he knows.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. By the way, Jack, did you see that email from David K? Okay, good deal. Just want to make sure you saw it and you weren't driving. He has said, look, the opportunity to revisit expansion following Texas circuit Oklahoma has certainly presented itself. I am not actively poaching any school or convincing anyone to leave their existing conference, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't listening to schools that wanted to go to the Pac-12, and we've had a lot of them reach out. Probably all the ones you'd expect and several you'd be surprised by. All right. So again, if the Big 12 is left out of this doesn't mean that these schools can't jump out of the Big 12 eventually and jump into another league. It just, to me, I think with the news today, especially when you hear quotes like that and like their announcements on expansion could come soon after that, even after meeting with Bob Bowlesby. I mean, like, look, Bob Bowlesby could be involved, like maybe optimistically here. Here's what I'm thinking.
Talk to me.
Maybe Bob Bowlesby is not involved in all this because the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have a separate deal. And then when the scheduling alliance is announced, then shortly after that, we'll find out that not only that, the Pac-12 is going to add, they're going to move east.
Ace up the sleeve. Ace up the sleeve, so to speak.
So maybe, like optimistically, I think that.
Yeah.
Now, realistically, I don't. But,
sure.
Or realistically, it might be the Pac-12 just goes, all right, here's the 4 that we want. And then, that we're willing to deal with, and let's go with those 4.
Yeah.
And then we're the Pac-16, and we're in a scheduling alliance, and we've got the middle of the country, we've got the west coast of the country, and now with the alliance, you've got the Big Ten, you've got the whole, border to border covered.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if we were to see something like that, like your most optimistic situation, Kliavkov's from like MGM, like the MGM world of managing hotels and things of that nature. So like if we were to see something unorthodox and just sort of wild and out there, he would be the guy to do it. And so it is sort of confusing to me too. Why is the Pac-12 sitting in this position of power to where they're now in this alliance with the Big Ten and the ACC? Like you would think if they were to do a ranking of appealing conferences, even with just the 8 teams. I get USC is a pretty big chip to have if you're the Pac-12, but you would still think that the Big 12 with 8 teams would be somewhere competitive with the Pac-12. Like I don't get why they're left out. I would think Bowlesby's meeting wouldn't have gone well, I guess, at that point.
All right, so he says, Kliavkov says, we've taken initial meetings with everyone that has expressed an interest. We have a working group. We were together deciding on what to recommend. At the end of the day, they'll make the decision about whether or not to offer admission to the Pac-12 to any other schools. And according to The Athletic, the announcement between the Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC could come as soon as next week, and the Pac-12 decision could follow shortly after. So we'll see. There's no hard deadline related to any of this, but I would say I don't think it's good for college athletics, given the vibration that's going on as a result of the Texas and Oklahoma news. The quicker we can dampen that vibration, the better. We'll have a decision on whether we intend to expand or not in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, see, there you go. I mean, again, nothing's going to happen super fast, not certainly, and it feels like Texas and Oklahoma happened fast.
Feels like they're gone already.
But for Texas and Oklahoma, it didn't happen fast. They worked on this for months in secret. It's just it's hit everyone else, and they're like, whoa, this came out of nowhere because that's what they wanted it to do.
Yeah.
And, I often wonder, had the story not been leaked, would we even, would have been reported, would they have told anybody by now, or they be navigating the legal waters a little bit more to say, okay, well, we'll wait till after the end of this year, and then we'll say it. Because then you
got to think, because of the source that leaked it being associated with A&M, you got to think it was kind of a not their plan, at least. You would think it would not have been A&M.
And I don't think it was Texas and Oklahoma's plan at all.
Oh, no
to have anybody know about it.
No shot.
And I wonder if we'd even know now.
No, I don't think so. I think it would be before it's too late. I think it already was too late, but I think it would have been, after it's too late.
Yeah.
Would have, I think, been their approach.
But I think we would be approaching the season now being like, all right, well, here's what's going to happen. And we would know Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. And you all say this a couple months ago or a month and a half ago. We read an article that was from a Texas site from a guy saying, Texas needs to be in a a power, like a better league, and the league is beneath Texas. And I thought, like, man, this is some snooty Texas fan right here, that a league they haven't even come close to winning. I guess close. They were in the Big 12 championship a couple years ago, but they haven't won in a long time. Yep. And most years aren't even in the discussion to win it. Say for 2 in the last decade, you think the league's not doing enough for you? Like, you haven't said, like, maybe we're not doing enough for the league?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's the other thing about it. And then here they are leaving.
You think it's going to get easier in the SEC? You think that's
no,
the
it's
solution?
not going to get easier.
No, I'm saying for them. If that's your approach, that's what you want to think about, is going to the SEC and say this is going to be better for us.
Yeah.
It's better for you is to win games, win your conference.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that in the SEC for a long time, I would assume. Unless something crazy happens and Sark's the man, which I think he will be. But I don't think he'll be the man that quickly in the SEC.
But I mean, like, to win the SEC, like, you can be the man who wins at Texas, but you can be the man who wins at Texas in the SEC. Like, there are, like, look, just on right now, A&M is a better team than them.
Yeah,
A&M has no
question.
And Steve Sarkisian, while he's got a couple pelts on the wall, he has not done it as a head coach what Jimbo Fisher's done as head coach. Mm-hmm. Jimbo Fisher, at least on paper and by accomplishment, is a better, more accomplished coach than Steve Sarkisian.
100%.
So right now, just with A&M, they're the second best team in Texas in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like, now, history dictates that switch has been flipped many a time, but A&M's better now. The SEC has worked out for them. They have a head coach who knows what he's doing in that league. They have a head coach who's won a national title, a head coach who knows how to win a national title, a head coach who knows what it's like to build a team in the modern era of college football. Mm-hmm. They have all that stuff. They did not have that for many, many years. And now they do, and so they're ahead of the game. Now, how far ahead of the game they can say that Texas remains to be seen. The other problem is, like, they might be ahead of Texas. They're behind Oklahoma.
Sure.
So Oklahoma's still coming in. So you're going to have to play Oklahoma probably every year if you're A&M. They're behind them. So, again, the SEC can change just that fast. So if you're A&M, you got to feel like you really got to strike with the iron's hot. And it took them this long, outside of the first year with Johnny Manziel, which was a miracle.
Yeah, that was not going to happen.
Was not going to set up to be consistent. So yeah, Texas is not going to do that in the SEC.
No shot.
You know, I mean, not right away. I mean, maybe eventually they will.
Yeah, you would hope so. They're like, for the sake of the Big 12's optics, you would hope that they eventually become competitive, or at least Oklahoma's competitive right off the bat, and I think they will be. But no, I mean, I think another thing that should be mentioned is Texas A&M has a head coach who knows how to manage a program. It doesn't have boosters putting their hands in his program every other hour of the day, because that's a whole other job you have to deal with in Austin, which is really tough. College Station and Austin, Texas are just very different settings, and that one's way more conducive to a winning football program than the other one is, right now at least. And so I think if you're Steve Sarkisian, that's the first thing I'm talking about. I want to be able to do my job and not have Joe Schmo with $1 million telling me what to run and all these different things and have his hand in my program.
Yeah. Good luck. Like that
it's not going to work in the SEC.
Yeah. That at Texas, though, is hard to do. You know,
he's got to do. Yeah. So I mean, Mac Brown wouldn't put up with it. Mac Brown was winning, but
well, I mean, it wore Mac Brown down. I mean, it wore him down. Yeah. And then like part of it was that and part of it was that I think it passed Mac by a little bit. I think they got a little lazy and lazy and complacent. Like they were kind of. Texas they're not developing players. They also weren't getting players that fit what they were doing. Mm-hmm. They're just like, if you're the number one linebacker, we want you.
Yeah.
Well, are you the number one linebacker in the defensive system we play, or are you the number one linebacker in a different defensive system?
Yeah.
I think that kind of thing, and I think that thing really hurt them. I think especially on the offensive and defensive lines, they're just grabbing guys who were like, well, this is the number one guy. Everybody wants him. Yeah, but is he best fit for you? Sometimes it's okay to let the number 3 defensive tackle go if he's never going to work in your program, if the number 51 guy is perfect for what you do.
Yeah, look at Oregon during those times. I mean, when Mac Brown was head coach at Texas, they were tearing it up, and they were doing it with a bunch of 3-stars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crucial, and that's kind of been the thing at Texas year in, year out. It's like, okay, we're going to get the highest ranked class we can, and we'll find a way to make it work. And that's not at all the way that they make it work on X's and O's.
They don't develop.
No, don't develop.
Like what Matt Rule did was come here and develop players into the NFL players. Yeah, you develop guys. You want coaches to develop. I think that's what Steve Sarkisian will do. We'll talk more about this here coming up in the 5 o'clock hour at 5:15. Tim Buckley joins us to talk Louisiana. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Nothing beats fall, football, and Ford. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. The Friday night lights at Midway High School ignite that electric feeling. And Bird Colgin Ford, we have some cool electric vehicle options as well. Come put your custom order in today for the all-new Mach-E or Ford Lightning. Enjoy the electricity and the lightning speed on the football field and nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corby. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountain outside of each locker room, and both include shower, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Cole. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Purdy escapes, throws downfield, and intercepted. Jalen Barnes comes up with it.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Here's Paul Catalina and J.D. Pickell.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, J.D. Pickell. Let's go to the Riverbend text line real quick.
Let's do it. Run it up.
321 sent a graphic. Ninth most nationally televised games on major networks since 2018. UCF. We were just talking about them during the break.
Good for them. Good for UCF.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how much that plays with the realignment conversation. But, yeah, UCF fans really got after it in the hard count. They were saying, this is a joke, we hate you, nice things like that. And I understand. I appreciate the passionate fans, but it's a whole other conversation.
I think if you were, of all things being equal, if you're going to expand like if you're going to bring teams into the Power 5,
Yeah.
UCF has the best argument to do it. Like they absolutely do. Like of all the Group of 5 teams nationwide that would love to be in a Power 5, UCF has the best argument. They have the absolute best argument. Their school is massive, a massive alumni base. Bringing them into a Power 5 conference, I think would only help the conference. And so I don't think it would hurt it. I think that schools like, USF, Houston, Memphis, Cincinnati, BYU maybe probably would be second to me on a team that deserves to be in the Power 5. But all those other ones, you have a harder case to make. Now, look, you might wind up in it if the Big 12 adds you or whatever happens with the Big 12. But to me, I think you have to make there are ones with harder cases to make. Look, we had Billy Embody on earlier about SMU, and I asked him about how they feel about it. And look, SMU kind of happy in the AAC. Like they can win that league, and they can get transfers. They can get their team is stocked full of transfers. Guys like Tanner Mordecai and Grant Calcaterra right now from Oklahoma and others. They can win. They can beat the Power 5 team that they play. They can beat TCU. They beat them in 2019 last time they played. They're happy with that, especially all that they've been through. So
they're big fish. They're big fish right now in a medium-sized pond. My thing was I don't want to see an overhaul of all these other Group of 5 teams outside of UCF. Like UCF totally has a case to be a Power 5 school. My thing is if you want to add UCF and Tulane and Eastern Carolina, I'm like, okay, well let's slow down. Let's not just open the floodgates and just have everybody be in this big fish or be a big fish in a big pond. That's my thing.
If no knock if you're an East Carolina fan watching the show, but if and again, this is the same thing for the Big 12. If the Big 12, if any schools did anything for anybody, the Big 12 would probably still be together.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's if any of these schools were that attractive to anyone else other than just to counteract what happened with the SEC, then maybe the SEC wouldn't have been able to do what they did because Texas and Oklahoma would have been happy where they were. And, I don't know how much more the Big 12 could have done to make them happy.
Yeah.
I don't. And that's a whole nother discussion, but yeah, so that's the thing. But I do think UCF fans, and they get mad. I mean, they're trying to state their case, and I get that. And I do think as far as they are, if they're going to apply to Power 5 membership, to me, they'd be, if there was an open spot, I'd be like, it's UCF, let's go.
They're first on the wait list.
Yeah,
let's
go.
First on the wait list, them, BYU, Cincinnati. I don't know if BYU wants to. They said they want to.
Yeah,
I think it's a matter of matching up the handbook and all that.
I think BYU, if they could be in the Pac-12, would do it. The Pac-12 is not going to do it because they don't play on Sundays and all this other stuff. There's all these other political things, but I think that's easy to navigate. Honestly, at this point, you want the ones that are going to have the biggest television footprint. And look, they make a whole lot of new Mormons every day. I mean, that's,
sure.
The reason that Notre Dame is, attractive to people is we make a whole lot of new Catholics every day.
Sure.
We make a whole lot of them. And so Notre Dame's a school with 8,600 people in it, but they're a huge brand name because my dad, I grew up Catholic. My dad used to say Notre Dame's so popular because they have a recruiter in every town.
Yeah.
That's true. And the Mormon church is like that now too. I mean, they've got,
two recruiters on bikes. Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. And I mean, BYU has a lot of engagement too. You want to use social media as a proxy. I think they have more interaction, more or less, than TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor. They have a really strong following. So, I mean, if you could get past the political stuff, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, here's the deal. If a whole bunch of people that don't like it, that are fans of the other team, are going to watch my game on TV when I'm going to play them, I think I'd like them in my conference.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing about BYU is look, they have a huge following. So if a bunch of people are going to watch the BYU game from around the country on TV when they play me, I want to play them.
Absolutely. And you don't have to take everybody else with BYU. BYU is their own thing, which is nice. You don't have to take BYU and X, Y, and Z team that comes with them.
Yeah, so I think BYU to me is attractive. I think the Pac-12, honestly, and this might be what one of the things that George Kliavkoff is dealing with is telling them listen, all this political stuff about these teams don't align with us politically and blah, da, 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 da. You're too far in the weeds.
Yes.
What's better for you financially? So are having schools that might be a little less academic standing than you going to hurt you overall in the research that you do if that's just about you?
Right.
No, it's probably not.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that flow through academic research, way more than athletics all the time. But is that going to hurt you? No.
And if you have to add people, which it looks like you do probably the way the Super Conference stuff is trending, if you have to add teams, and these are some teams saying, hey, we need a home, we need somewhere to go, you're going to can't play on Sundays be the reason you don't add them to the conference or the religious affiliation or the political stuff. I think you need to be smart here. When a life raft comes your way and you're drowning, you don't say, I don't like that life raft. You say, okay, grab on, get me up there. Like,
well, the other thing is like, just that's kind of the nature in this country is like you're on the elephant team or you're on the donkey team, and if elephant team says this, donkey team's wrong, when that may not be the right thing at all. Like it just like we don't even want to talk about it. Like, well, we kind of agree on this thing. Like, no, we don't agree on anything anymore, and what you say is wrong. And the problem with that is it spills over into college athletics. Like, that's not doing anybody any good to be like, no, your political differences or your religious affiliation is too much for us to deal with. Well, what mountain are you standing on?
Yeah.
Are you truly being inclusive or trying to get, like, you're never going to educate people by being exclusive.
No.
You're never going to get them to understand who you are or just live peacefully and not deal with each other if you don't expand and, and do that. So.
And I'm all for sticking to your guns. Like, have convictions, have values that you stand by, but don't sacrifice the greater good for your own values.
Do you have any few people like
not valuable.
Few people I would hang out with or like talk to if I was like, no, they believe this, I'm not going to talk to them.
Yeah.
Like there's, I mean, like, again, that's no way to live your life. That's no way to, like, what if you want to help somebody, right? How are you going to get people that are doing something maybe wrong that like they don't know is wrong that you want to help them over if you're just like, no, I can't talk to them. I'm just going to let them be wrong and live in that wrong and be mean and mad and wrong.
Well, then you're wrong.
As opposed to just like listening to them and going, okay, well, I see where you live, but have you thought about this? That's all. I mean, I don't know, but that's where our country is right now. You're on team A or team B. Although there's a bunch of people like us who are in the middle who are just like, I just, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah.
Like, that's all I want. Like, what's the best way to do a thing? Let's do it that way.
Like, right is right and wrong is wrong, and the right answer is usually somewhere in the middle of extremely radical, whichever way you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so from the 916, what do you think of the Big 12 adding Boise State, BYU, Colorado State, Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF? I'm kind of just talking about that, like, again, like, UCF does something for me. Houston, Colorado State, like some of those just don't do anything for me. But again, if you're the Big 12, you're only as picky as far as it's going to keep you a Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
So like your pickiness is to the point of, are these teams going to keep us a Power 5 conference? Can we keep the money from dropping terribly low? Can we keep it at this certain level that where we can sustain what we're used to? Then yes.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like the minute you start saying like, well, maybe it's Boise State that would drop that down, because they're a small school in a place that's kind of out on its own. But I don't know. But Boise State's been good at things.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. That one doesn't do as much for me. From the
I was going to say be as picky as you can afford to be.
All right.
And who knows how picky they can afford to be.
This one's pretty much directed at you, even though it doesn't say your name. Wade, an Oklahoma State alum. Why not explain the playoff, auto-bid conference champs, and cap at-large bids for each conference? Makes the most sense by far, and with the alliance, they have the votes to outdo the SEC.
Should we stretch?
Yeah.
Should we stretch before this? I mean, the bottom line is you're never going to agree on this. Like, whatever I say to this, I'm not going to sway you, Wade. Paul and I have agreed to disagree on this. Mm-hmm. I am of the opinion that college football is cyclical. It is cyclical in the sense that those cycles can take a long time. I think that the best team has won the national championship so far with the playoff model. And so if it really is about crowning the champion, I think it's worked so far. Now, again, you might be thinking I'm an idiot, and that's okay. That's your opinion. You're entitled to that. But that is where I stand, and I think that's probably where I'll live until they expand the playoff, and then we'll reevaluate.
Yeah, and look, I don't agree. I don't disagree with almost everything you said. The only thing is I just think, like, I don't like it being exclusive that, like, you don't even give these teams a chance. Like, look, if Boise State got in the playoff, they're not going to win the national championship most of the time. But I don't know that there's not one year that they won't. And that's what I kind of want to see. Like, I want to see that, like, there might be that magical. That's what's great about sports is it goes pretty much how it's supposed to go most of the time, but the times that it doesn't are amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to see. I want to see more times that it doesn't. And college football has gotten to the point with me where it goes the way it's supposed to go too much. Like, I want to see some more. I just want to see, it doesn't have to be much, and it probably won't be. Like, to expect that they expand the playoff to 12 teams and that group of 5 team or the team that, like, from a Power 5 conference that got hot at the end and just barely got in and the 11th or 10th seed, to think that they're going to win it, all the time, that's naive.
Yeah.
But to see the opportunity for them to win it, to me, is exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for Boise State being the national championship. So in that case, if at the 14 playoff, I'll say Boise State, schedule ahead, have a really rigorous non-conference, run the table, and then find a way to get in. And again, I know I'm asking a lot, and I also understand it's going to expand. Like, no matter what I say, we're going to have 12 teams.
I'll also tell you this about the scheduling and the conference scheduling.
Sure.
Yes, playing in the SEC, especially in the SEC West, most years you're going to have a better schedule than everybody else.
Yeah.
All right, let's take them out of it.
Sure.
Okay. Ohio State's schedule this year is not that much different than most teams do. So, like, they're probably a bad example because they're not afraid to schedule people. But most of the team, like Clemson, doesn't have a good schedule.
Yeah, Georgia start.
Okay, they won.
Right.
Okay. Then the rest of it's not that great.
Right.
Okay.
Let's pull it up. Let's see what we got here.
I mean, it's not. Like Clemson will not be bothered very much outside of Georgia.
Yeah.
Like they will not be bothered.
I would agree.
Alabama will get a hell of a lot more bothered.
Totally.
Ohio State will get a lot more bothered. Clemson doesn't play another ranked team all year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how the schedule works out, but I'm totally with you. And
Look, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. Like Boston College might sneak into the rankings.
Sure, Syracuse is giving them trouble.
Syracuse is giving them trouble. Syracuse is not good, though.
No,
Syracuse,
they're not.
Okay, there are teams, and you know this from watching college football, there are teams that, for whatever reason, give somebody trouble.
Yeah.
I think Dino Babers has figured out how to give Dabo Swinney trouble, but he's still not. He's more just the most annoying fly in the swarm of flies around them. They just swat him away. Florida State might be like Florida State improves to where I think they might be. They'll probably be a bowl team this year, but by the time they play them at the end of October, they're not going to be like going great guns. Louisville, UConn, Wake Forest, South Carolina, like they closed the year. UConn, Wake Forest, South Carolina. They could play all of those games without pads and helmets and win by 21.
That'd be dangerous.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot faster.
Yeah.
Be a lot faster, that's for sure.
I mean, look, here's the thing. They'll be able to play UConn without clothes and not get hit. I mean, like...
Yeah. UConn's down bad. UConn could be in the SEC pretty soon.
So, you say that, like, occasionally, yes, that's true. Like, but I do think that there are certain teams that, like, look... And sometimes they plan a good schedule and the schedule turns out bad.
Yeah.
Like it seems good when they planned it 5 years ago, and then 5 years comes around, all those teams are bad. But I think that there are certain specific examples you can point to, like Clemson and Ohio State have a really good schedule.
Yep.
Alabama and Ohio State have good
games.
schedules.
Good games on their schedules.
Good games on their schedule. Clemson has one good game on their schedule.
Yep.
And they essentially had to do that because they knew that, like, if they say that, like, that game they can lose and then win all the rest, and if they've done exactly what people think they are, they're still going to go and win the ACC title and be in the playoff once again.
I may be of a different opinion there. I think if they lose to Georgia, I think their schedule or the rest of their season changes dramatically. I think they need some help if they lose that game. If they lose the game, they need some help getting back in the playoff.
I just don't know, like, if they roll through and win the ACC title game, and that would be beating probably North Carolina or Miami. If they beat them, then I think that's going to be their second quality win. They'll be the fourth team. With one loss. So. Or like if they lose to Georgia and Georgia, rolls through and maybe only loses one game throughout the year, Georgia might knock them out. But I still think, there's just this, like the other thing about the 14 playoff is that, like, if you're the ACC and their champion has always been Clemson since the 14 playoff.
Yep.
But before it was FSU, their champion has they're telling them, like, all you do is win this league.
Right.
Just win this league and you'll be in. And it, like, there's no impetus for them to schedule big time games.
Sure.
Really not. Outside of one. So that South Carolina State after Georgia, which I get. You probably want to do that, but their schedule's not.
It's not going to scare anybody.
That's not going to scare anybody.
And that's where the parity gets exciting to me. Like you talked about the magic where things go right until they don't. That's why I love the culture. And this is my own opinion. In the regular season, that's why I love the parity that exists potentially in the regular season. Because if Clemson does lose to Syracuse, we got to talk about their one loss being to Syracuse.
Yeah.
And then they're probably not in the playoff at that point. Or you got to play for your spot in the ACC title game.
Yeah, they'd have to really charge back. But look, I'd really like for them to lose at home on October 30th. That would make me happy. Especially since their coach made a ridiculous claim about why that game didn't happen last year.
Mackenzie Milton be slinging it. Mackenzie Milton will be back there, I think.
I hope so. God, I hope so.
I would love to see him.
I just hope he doesn't get murdered by other defensive linemen than the other team.
Yeah, is the O-line going to be better this year, you think?
I mean, how can it be worse? So, I mean,
it'll be good. I'm a Mackenzie Milton guy. He's been around college football forever, it seems like.
I'm a Mackenzie Milton guy, too. All right, got a couple callers. Chris.
Right, you were arguing about the same teams being involved with the championships. I agree with you 100%. I'm tired of seeing Clemson. I'm tired of seeing Alabama. There's no parity. You know, in the SEC trying to lock down Texas and Oklahoma to just dominate the market, the only way this is going to work, this alliance, is if, you know, the AAC comes on board with the other three leagues and they all agree we're not going to play out-of-conference games against the SEC. You know, let them schedule the Sun Belt, but don't weaken any of our champions in out-of-conference games, which would maybe eliminate them from the playoffs. I'm just so tired of ESPN and SEC. They've ruined the rivalries. They've ruined all the things that I thought made college football great, and I'm just so tired of the damn LSUs and Alabamas of the world that I just want to see a Central Florida one time get there and have a chance to national championship.
Yeah, I mean, LSU only got there one time. LSU's only been once.
Yeah, to the playoff. I mean, they're always in the discussion, I guess. So, but yeah, or not always. They weren't last year. They're terrible.
Sure.
But yeah, they. We talked about this on the big one too the other day, JD. I think that one of the things that the expansion misses is that college football is not just good because of the SEC. It's the sum of the whole.
Yep.
Sum of the parts.
Absolutely.
And the SEC is a huge part of that, but and it's a great part of it. Like I love watching SEC games. I love the SEC. I love it. I love a college football fan, but I just think that moving forward, if you're just deciding like this is the only thing that gets us the viewers that we're comfortable with, I think you're really missing out on what college football is. Now, can it get better? Like, can you maybe like scheduling alliances make sure that like we don't see Clemson versus Wofford? Like, I don't want to see like, and I know that hurts those teams on that level for the guarantee games, but like. Yeah. That's one of the things that's probably hurting college football is that you have those games where to make 12, like when they expanded to 12 games in the season, a lot of these teams were like, well, I don't want to play another, like, I mean, what good is it
another
do me to do to so I'm going to play Wofford or South Carolina State or Jacksonville State or North Florida or whoever and like Bethune-Cookman and call it a day when I'd rather just see all those teams on the same level play each other.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think that'll be good going forward. But to me, to eliminate, like Chris is saying, to like just say, here's the leagues that we like. Mm-hmm. We like this team and these things. Nothing else is good for us. Mm-hmm. To me, is short-sighted.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just saying like this is what we need, and part of it, I mean, ESPN and Disney is just trying to capitalize on what they know works and focus on that, and that's fine. But to try to have to ruin another league. To do that and to do it the way that they did it, to me, is just ridiculous. Like, yeah. And again, it's monopolies and all these things that are bad for America. We've known they're bad. I think people kind of forget over the years, but
it has nothing to do with college football. It's all business, big business. Like what have you paid me lately? What can you do for me lately? Nothing to do with the product on the field. Because if it was, Texas isn't in this conversation, right? Like if it was, it's more so, okay, Oklahoma, maybe we want to talk to you. Who else? Iowa State, maybe come over here. Like it's a very different conversation if we're talking about the actual product that is college football.
Well, and
it's frustrating.
Yeah, and like the product on the field is not what this is about. It's about brand names and overall. Look, McDonald's is the biggest brand of hamburgers, but I don't think you'd find many people in the world that would say they're better than some other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not trying to knock a company. I'm just saying that like
we love McDonald's.
Yeah, great, good McDonald's. Please spend money with us, but Whataburger might be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely,
In-N-Out might be better. As far as the burger goes, but it's less recognizable because there's not an In-N-Out. There wasn't In-N-Out everywhere in every city when you were growing up. Mm-hmm. As where McDonald's, there's McDonald's, and then at no point in my life have ever been like, which In-N-Out can I go to? Because there's just been one in the city I lived in now for like the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But if you were a kid and say, we'll go to McDonald's, you say, well, which one? The one on 5th Street or the one on 38th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you love all burgers. Like, all burgers are great. And the great part is you don't have to just go to McDonald's. You can go to McDonald's, you can go to In-N-Out, you can go to Wendy's, you can go to Five Guys, you can go all these places. And so it's like, no, you just get this one burger. And we're just going to make sure we're just going to feed you this one burger. And that's what you get. Hope you like it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not what we like about college football or burgers.
The SEC is honestly is a conference full of McDonald's now.
Yeah.
Like they are. They have like a bunch of McDonald's, and that's fine. Like, everybody eats at McDonald's, everybody has, but like,
variety is the spice of life.
Yeah, give me a Culver's in there. I don't know.
Culver's,
Dairy
okay,
Queen.
good take.
Dairy
Good take.
Queen.
Dairy
Give me
Queen.
a Dairy Queen in there.
You need something. You need some more of that.
Yeah, I might do a top 5 of team. Do you think I could pull that off, Hayden? College football teams as fast food restaurants.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
That might be a little bit of work. Today we've got college football teams as bands and singers.
Chick-fil-A is Clemson, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Not open on – no, Chick-fil-A might be BYU because they don't play on Sundays.
Ooh, the religions may mesh a little bit there.
Yeah.
Or have some
all right, Adrian.
Discrepancies.
Wants to give his thoughts on the Alliance. What's up, Adrian?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. Man, you guys, I've been watching your show since the start today and gave me a lot to digest on some of the stuff. And I agree with the last caller with a lot of what he had to say. I love the little segment between you guys having your banter against each other. But, hey, I had to disagree with JD on one part about the CFP getting the teams right. And also what you were saying about, like, the whole every game matters in the regular season that ESPN has been pushing for years now. The year that Georgia and Alabama played each other, Alabama should not have been in there. They lost their last regular season game against Auburn, and then Auburn got smashed by Georgia in the SEC championship game. So Alabama didn't win their division or their conference, but yet they were in the top 4 teams. That didn't make sense to me. And then they also did that like back in the BCS with LSU and Alabama being in the championship game. That didn't make sense to me either. Those 2 championship Alabama teams are asterisks, if you ask me, because they didn't win their division, they didn't win their conference, but yet they're in a championship game. But other things, so what I would like to see in the this whole Alliance stuff is getting games like Washington, Miami. They've had 2 games previously, one in like the late 80s, early 90s, the Whammy in Miami, where Washington beat Miami.
Oh, I remember.
And then in the early 2000s, Washington beat Miami here. Because I'm a UW fan, go Dogs. But also get back the rivalries of Nebraska, Colorado, maybe even a FBS championship game where like Ohio State and Miami played to get each other, like to get like those games. But yeah, I woke up this morning and saw that on Twitter, the whole, announcement could be coming totally just like, whoa, what the heck's going to happen? I called yesterday. I would love to see, like I said, Pac-12 add in some teams. And then, like the last caller said, though, too, what does the SEC do with, like, if all these games are scheduled between the 3 conferences and they don't schedule games against the SEC? Nobody wants to see Alabama versus, South Charleston State Tech,
Yeah.
Like, those games don't draw people to the stadiums and they don't draw people to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Hopefully also, too, they, they can do some deal, I know because ESPN got a monopoly on it, but have Fox air a championship game, have NBC air a championship game, have CBS air a championship game, or just playoff games, having them all on ESPN, and sometimes they run over, and so the games don't start until later. They get switched to ESPN News or ESPN2 or ESPN3. Like, that just sucks. I hate it. Anyways, thank you for taking my call and, listen to me rant.
Yeah, love it. Thanks, Adrian. Love stuff. Yeah, look, I think it's going to be curious to me what the other networks do to react to this and try how they get their college football. How does CBS, Fox, NBC, Amazon, Apple all react to this?
Yeah.
Like, how do they react to what ESPN is going to try to do? Because, NBC Sports especially has been kind of like, since they lost to the full scale NFL, I mean, they have the Sunday night game of the week, but since they lost I guess they had the AFC for a while. I can't remember what they had, but since they lost that, they've been like the Olympics, a little bit NFL, some hockey, and like nothing else. Like, do you have do you have the gumption now with Peacock to go do something?
Yeah.
With CBS and Paramount Plus, do you have the gumption to go and do something and put it on Paramount Plus? Does Amazon, when does Amazon go, okay, ESPN has the SEC, how can we make money on all the rest of it?
Yeah.
And because they've got money to burn, we've all collectively decided that we'll go to the store a third of the time that we used to so that we can stay at home and go, yeah, sure, I'll take that for $3
And that
less.
pot's just getting bigger and bigger. So if you're Amazon, you're just sitting back and waiting to get that just fattened calf and just go in and make a big splash on the college football media landscape.
Here's how much money these guys have, like Jeff Bezos. He can just decide, I'd like to go to space now and go.
Yeah.
That's, let's get them to spend money on something that, and look, I'm all for space travel and figuring out how that can, further innovation. We went to the moon, not just so we could go to the moon, but so we could invent microwave ovens and different things that help our economy. So I'm all for that. But Jeff Bezos' thing to me is this is just about rich guys going to space, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. The year is 2025. You sit down to watch a national title game. Someone say, hey, who has the Amazon app? Put it on the TV.
Yeah.
I want to see the game.
Yeah.
If you can go to space, you can do that, right?
Exactly.
That's doable.
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, there's so many greenbacks in it for him too. It's a matter of snapping his fingers, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's get one call, and then we've got to go to break, and we have one more interview. Let's go to Tulsa on college football expansion. What's going on? Oh, no, lost him. All right, we'll go to a break right here. When we come back, we're going to talk Raging Cajuns. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Make this a summer event as rocking at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $6,250 or 2.9% for 72 months plus $2,000 in bonus cash. The 1500 Crew Cab has the top safety rating and is ranked #1 in full-size pickup trucks. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Tim Buckley, Lafayette Daily Advertiser, joins us now. Talk a little Raging Cajuns, Louisiana football. And Tim, this is a team that returns a ton of people. They returned their coach, Billy Napier, who, honestly, there's a lot of jobs he could probably walk in and say, I'd like this one, and they'd take him right now. Is this peak level optimism for the Raging Cajun season this year?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they're going in ranked 23 in both polls. First time they've been nationally ranked to start the season. They're coming off a 10-1 season with only the Sun Belt loss to Coastal Carolina. Billy Napier really kind of has this not just this team, but the whole program churning. And like you said, they are loaded with returnees. They only lost 2 starters. Now, to be fair, they did lose their top 2 running backs. Elijah Mitchell got drafted by the 49ers, and Trey Regis, who wasn't drafted but is making a little bit of noise in the Raiders camp. So they're stacked on defense, and they got some running backs ready to step in for the 2 that they lost. So they're really kind of stacked on offense too.
Yeah, the defense is what people will talk about the most. And look, they beat Iowa State last year. We're going to talk about the opener with Texas here in a second. But what has been the key to that defense in sticking as tough as it has over the last couple of years?
They're just fundamentally sound. They got some great play out of the secondary. Percy Butler's on the Senior Bowl watch list, one of the starting safeties. He's a really, really good one. They're 2 inside linebackers, Farrod Gardner and Lorenzo McCaskill, both really experienced kids. Farrod Gardner is one of those 7th-year super senior guys who's about ready to collect Social Security. And up front, they got at nose, they got Taylon Humphreys, an NFL prospect in his own right. He draws the double team, and that really kind of frees things up for on the edge. Andre Jones, who's kind of a lengthy get behind the line kind of guy, and Zion Hill, who's a little undersized but really is gap sound. So they really got it. A little bit of everything they need just about everywhere.
Levi Lewis, I know I mean, bus driver wouldn't be the right term for him. I think that's too little, but he does need to get a little bit better as a passer. Do you think that will come, and especially with a veteran-laden team, will it make it easier for him to take those steps as a passer?
Well, there's no doubt that's one facet of the game that needs to be improved, and they especially had issues connecting on the deep ball last season. They hope they can do a little bit better job at that. They played 3 true freshmen last season, probably before they were really ready. They're kind of forced in because of injuries. Those guys are a little more experienced. That'll help. They got some of those other guys back and healthy, like Peter LeBlanc and Jalen Williams. If he can get things connected on the long ball, perhaps with LeBlanc, or one kid who's having a really good camp is Golden AK. Went to Oklahoma hoping to do track and football. He's a triple jumper. Did the track part of it. The football part never panned out. He's a Louisiana kid, came back home. So he's got somebody with the speed that, could be the deep threat there. They picked up one other receiver that, maybe potentially it'd be worth keeping an eye on when they're in Austin by the name of John Stevens Jr., also a Louisiana high school kid, kind of coming back to the home state after spending a couple seasons at TCU.
Schedule-wise, they open up at Texas, and I want to talk about that. But this lines up for them pretty well, doesn't it, as far as where their trap games are, where the teams that might jump up and bite them are?
Yeah, I think so. They don't get what they really want, which is the rematch with Coastal Carolina. Like I said, that was their only loss last season. They were supposed to play in the Sun Belt Championship game. Cajuns champion of the West, Chanticleers champions of the East, and they had a COVID situation at Coastal, so they didn't get to play that one. Cajuns found out about that only after having flown all the way to South Carolina, which they were not real thrilled about. Then the Sun Belt schedule comes out, and there's no regular season meeting between Coastal and the Cajuns, which would have been the highlight of their regular season, except for arguably the Texas game. But yeah, it does. It all falls. Now look, they're in the Sun Belt, so they got the quirky Thursday games and all that nonsense going on. They've got Ohio as the MAC in the third week on a Thursday. They go up to Arkansas State on a Thursday. There's some other ones in there, but it does fall pretty good for them.
All right, that first game against Texas, how much does the Iowa State game from last year give them confidence that they can roll in and beat a team in a Power 5 conference? And look, the Iowa State game, Iowa State's the one who had to come back in that one and try to make it close. It wasn't the Raging Cajuns coming back and winning that game.
Yeah, that game was a weird game, to be honest with you. The Cajuns kind of did it largely because of special teams. They had Chris Smith, who's going to be their number one running back this year, return a kickoff for a touchdown. They had Eric Guerra, who also is back, one of the cornerbacks, return a punt for a touchdown. And they really relied on the special teams to get it done. But by the same token, you're right, they did kind of control things in that one. So, yeah, it gave them a ton of confidence. They really hadn't had a signature type, Power 5 win, for ages. I mean, maybe going way back to when they upset Texas A&M at Cajun Field way back when. So, that was something it was a good boost to confidence. It gave them a little national attention. It got them some, into the polls and everything. They maintained that, and here you are.
All right, with every guest, of course, since we're emanating here from Big 12 country, we have to ask about realignment. The Sun Belt's never mentioned in any of this realignment. It's always the AAC. How do Sun Belt teams like Louisiana see themselves in this in the realignment landscape as in the post Texas Oklahoma let's start the apocalypse move?
Well, it depends whether you're talking about Louisiana, the administration, Louisiana, the super fans, Louisiana, the realists, Louisiana, the hopefuls. Fans would love, and the fans arguably, somewhat delusionally, think that they're instant contenders to get into a Power 5 conference if all this realignment, gets a little bit crazy. I think they're doing a little bit more of a slow roll administratively. Their messaging is we want to be the best we can be, which who knows what in the heck that means. Other than they still got things to do. They got a major stadium, expansion project that's planned, but it's not shovels in the ground yet. They got other facilities upgrades that they're wanting to do and that they're in the middle of fundraising for. They're not. Athletic Director Brian Maggott said they're not, knocking on doors and making phone calls, just because Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC and they think that, there's something immediately for them. They like to play a little bit more conservatively. So we'll wait and see, how it shakes out. Might they be impacted? Might the Sun Belt be impacted because there's some sort of trickle-down effect? We wait and see.
Well, with the 12-team playoff coming, too, it's kind of for like teams in the Sun Belt, the AAC, the Mountain West, whatever, it seems like that can't come soon enough so that some of them can maybe prove their worth because of being able to get in the playoff. You know, one of the things Bob Bowlesby thought that there'd be no need for expansion with a 12-team playoff and no need for coaches to hop to bigger jobs because you'd have a better shot no matter where you were. Obviously, that's changed slightly, but with the 12-team playoff coming, doesn't that allow them to grow their brand a little bit? Because, you know, last year they probably would have been in it.
Oh, I don't know that they would have been in it, but they want it. They want it bad. They want it yesterday, which may not happen now, especially if you get this coalition of some of these Power 5 conferences that's kind of being bandied about. And, you know, they're obviously not for that. Yeah, the Cajuns would love it. The team that would have gotten in last season because they finished 12th in the final CFP rankings was Coastal Carolina. Cajuns ended up 19th in that, so they were kind of, you know, they were in the neighborhood. But yeah, they think that this would give them a legitimate path that, let's be real, they just don't have right now.
Tim Buckley, Lafayette Daily Advertiser, with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio on 365 Sports. Tim, thanks so much for joining us, and I really enjoyed it.
All right, you got it. Have a good day.
All right. That's Tim Buckley here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We're back with more after this.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and, you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. JD Piquel stepping in. Thanks to Grayson Gruday for doing the first hour with me, and JD for taking us through these last 2 hours. So,
my pleasure.
Yes. JD gets to participate in his first top 5 ever.
Yeah, I was losing sleep. Last night I was like, it's almost here. Yeah. 5:55 this morning, right. I was like 12 hours.
And on a Friday, which is usually when I roll out the weird stuff or the fun stuff. So
that's what we're here for, baby.
Top 5 college football teams as bands or singers.
Let's go. I love it.
So you're going to have to follow. Like, there's some jumps I take here, but so try to follow me. All right, number 5, Nebraska is in sync.
Oh, okay.
Powerhouse of the 90s. But once Justin Timberlake left, and in this regard, it would be, I guess, Tom Osborne is Justin Timberlake. And I'm sure Tom Osborne describes himself as the Justin Timberlake of college football coaches.
Yeah.
So anyone who would ask. But once Timberlake left, it hasn't been the same.
That's a great one. And Tom Osborne went on to do his own thing, huh?
He went to be a senator. He was a senator, Yeah.
Timberlake went off, did his own acting thing. They both turned out okay. I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm for it. All
right. Number 4, USC is Carlos Santana. Great through several eras, the 70s, the 90s, and all that. But you kind of forget about Carlos Santana, don't you? We've kind of forgotten about USC. And occasionally Carlos Santana will come out, still wail on that guitar, and you're like, not bad, Carlos Santana.
That's funny because you mentioned that. I was like, Carlos Santana, what does he do? I kind of know I know the name.
Back in the 70s, he was huge, Santana, huge rocker. And then, he kind of, as you get older, people quit caring. And then all of a sudden in the 90s, he pops up again, and he's doing stuff with Rob Thomas. And what was Rob Thomas's band?
I don't know.
Not Third Eye Blind. Baby, it's 3 a.m. I must be lonely. Rob Thomas, help me out there. Chat room. What weird 90s band was he in?
Rob Thomas.
Let's
check.
Matchbox 20. There you go. Matchbox 20. Yeah, it pops up, does something with Matchbox 20, and we talk about him again.
There it is.
Yeah. Oklahoma, number 3. Oklahoma is Garth Brooks.
Ooh.
Okay, here's the deal.
Okay.
This might be me and Garth. He might be an Oklahoma State fan. He might get mad and not talk to me again, even though we've never talked before ever. Oklahoma is Garth Brooks. Ostensibly great. There's nothing wrong with Garth Brooks at all. He's great. He's legendary. Put Hayden up here. We're going to put Hayden up. He's great. Everything he did early on to about 2000 or so was amazing. He still does great stuff. He still rocks it when he's in a concert. Garth Brooks is amazing, but he hasn't had a mega hit in a long time.
Yeah, he's great. Do you think OU is as scary as that picture of him right there?
That's pretty daunting.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's tough.
A frightening photo.
That's tough eyebrows, what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So Oklahoma's Garth Brooks. Everybody Garth Brooks. I like Garth Brooks. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma, listen, they're Garth Brooks right now. Garth, and he doesn't, here's the deal. Oklahoma could never have another hit again. They could never win another national championship again. And they could still do this, and they'll still be great. Just like Garth doesn't need to do Friends in Low Places or call in Baton Rouge again, and he'll be just fine. Nothing's going to change about his legacy. But I think Garth and a lot of his fans would really like him to have a mega hit.
Yeah. You think he's got one more in him? Because it feels like Oklahoma's got one more hit in him.
I hope so.
At least one more.
So
probably trending for a couple more hits, actually. But,
on the chat, Oklahoma does have Friends in Low Places. Thank you. Pun intended. Number 2, Alabama is U2. Look, we get that U2 is one of the all-time greats. And Bono was unbelievable, and everybody likes the Edge and all that. But aren't we just a little tired of U2 at this point? Aren't we just tired of it? Or hasn't it run its course? Could we see somebody else? Maybe it's the Foo Fighters that we like. Of course, that's my favorite band. But, maybe it's somebody else. Other than U2, I get that Bono's great. I get that Nick Saban's unbelievable. But, can we get someone else?
This is a great comparison because I think I line up exactly where I do on the college football playoff conversation as I do with U2. If you're tired of U2, someone's got to knock them off.
Here's the thing. What I'm saying? Here's the deal. U2 is so arrogant.
Yep.
So arrogant that they made a deal with Apple. And their deal was, and at no point did Apple ever question it, when everybody with an iPhone wakes up tomorrow morning, they're going to have our new album, their worst one by far, by the way, for free. And at no point did U2 or Apple ever think, hey, there might be people out there who don't like U2.
You know why I got to do that? Because they're winners. Winners do what they want. Winners do what they want.
But then what the response from a lot of people who didn't like U2 is why, my favorite band is Destiny's Child. Why do I want U2 on this thing?
That was not a good move.
But no one ever questioned it. But Alabama can do things just like U2, and no one will question it.
Yep.
Just do what you want. You're right, JD. Winners get to do what they want.
Tough sell.
Number 1, and I can't do one of these without taking a dig. Texas is Nickelback. They're big. They've done a lot of stuff. They've had hits. They have I'm sorry, I almost cursed there, Armstrong. They have a crap load of fans, but nobody knows why.
We all just want to be big rock stars.
Yeah.
That's what Steve Sarkisian is.
I know that in the chat, people are going to be like, oh, I like Nickelback. And I'm going to ask you why. And you don't know why you like them. They're not as rock bands go, they're not Nirvana. They're not Pearl Jam. They're not Aerosmith. They're not even close to any of those people. They're not Foo Fighters. They're not any of them. But they have tons of fans all over the place. But no one I like them. They're Canadian. They're nice.
Are they Canadian? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They're Canadian? Okay. Well, that's a great comparison. You always think of Nickelback when it comes to rock music. There's maybe not the first thought, but there's somewhere in when you go down the list, you're like, oh, also Nickelback too. Same exact thing with UT. Okay, I actually am a big fan of this list, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
I like this a lot. This is good stuff.
But so yes, Texas is Nickelback. There are a lot of T-shirt fans. Texas has a ton of T-shirt fans. Nickelback has a bunch of fans that just, I like Nickelback. Why? I don't know.
I don't know. I was told I'm supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
I was told I was supposed to like Nickelback.
I don't know why I liked them. I actually don't. Look, Nick Barnett's actually seen Nickelback live.
Can we admire Hayden's graphic here?
Yeah.
Garth Brooks is creepily looking in the back.
Just looking over Nickelback's shoulder.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's like OU in the playoff race.
Yeah.
Right there.
So again, let's see. Somebody told me that Bama is Kiss. Just when they think they're done, they come out with another tour. That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Kalani said, "Why are your anecdotes so out of date?"
What?
Disco bands.
What?
Kalani said, "Why are your anecdotes so out of date?"
They're out of date?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so who would they be? Texas is Dua Lipa. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm with you.
Been around long enough.
Alabama's Drake.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Alabama.
I like the way they went with this. I love this.
Yeah. I agree.
Look, they might be at it. We have a wide cross section of people watching this. So Kalani, I'll try to come up with a list next week that's more today and with it.
Just compare the band Styx and Rush next.
LSU is Justin Bieber.
Do you even listen to Imagine Dragons, Paul?
I know Imagine Dragons, yeah.
Imagine Dragons might be a group of 5.
Listen to them.
Yeah.
Imagine Dragons might be UCF.
Yeah, they might be UCF, yeah.
Is that fair?
They're good. They're good.
They're knocking on the door.
Yeah, they're good. They're fine.
Bob Dylan.
Matt, who's Bob Dylan?
Yeah, if they're knocking on the door.
That was good.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you to J.D. Patel. Thank you to Grayson Grunhafer, Barry Barger, Billy Embody, Joey Kaufman, Tim Buckley, Hayden Armstrong, Jack. Full team back together on Monday. Football season's upon us, everybody. This is Sick 'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Like and subscribe. See you next week.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.